Chapter 376. Damn it! How is this brat so fast? He is actually moving at Mach 3. I can't catch up. I can't catch up as well. Those who are not wind-attributed cultivators will find it hard to travel at such a speed for a long time. Never mind, there are still other secret treasures that will appear. I'll stop chasing. As Xiao Chen's speed increased explosively, the number of cultivators who could barely keep up decreased by more than half. Only 4 or 5 people remained behind. 2 superior-grade martial kings and 3 peak medial-grade martial kings. I still cannot deal with them. I have to keep running. Xiao Chun thought to himself. Above the sea, Xiao Chun executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. He ignored the intense drain on his essence as he sped away. After 6 hours of the 5 people behind him, only 2 wind-attributed cultivators remained. The other 3 had lost their patience as well. That brat seems to have stopped. He really stopped. He must have exhausted his essence. No matter how powerful his movement technique is, his essence will be exhausted eventually. How can he compete with us martial kings? Let's go. The 2 people who had been chasing for a long time and exhausted most of their essence finally sensed that Xiao Chan had stopped. They could not help but rejoice when they sensed that Xiao Chan had slowed down and completely stopped. Amidst the dense fog in front, Xiao Chan sat cross-legged on the surface of the sea. His clothes were completely dry. The smiles on the 2's faces became wider. They laughed loudly and said, "Brat, you are rather tactful. You know you can't run anymore, so you stopped. Hand over the secret treasure. You are just a superior-grade martial saint, and you want to join in the fun? Hand over the secret treasure and scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for bullying the weak." On the calm sea, Xiao Chan stood up and slowly turned around. He casually tossed aside an exhausted medial-grade spirit stone. He looked at the 2 and smiled faintly. "When did I say I can't run anymore? The 2 of you can forget about leaving now." Arrogant. The middle-aged medial-grade martial king on the left snorted coldly and stomped heavily on the sea. Bang! On the calm surface of the sea, there was a loud explosion. An extremely dense water column that was spinning continuously tore through the air and shot at Xiao Chun. "Break!" Xiao Chun shouted and instantly drew the lunar shadow saber with his right hand. A purple saber light flickered and the spinning pillar of water that was rising to the sky was instantly sliced in half. In a breath's time it was effortlessly defeated. Drawing the sword, seeing the water pillar split in half, the 2 middle-aged cultivators thought suspiciously. However, drawing the saber was just an ordinary martial technique. How could it be so powerful? Furthermore, it was so casual and relaxed. The 2 of them became cautious. This person might not be an ordinary superior-grade martial saint. He might be one of those demonic geniuses who could fight above their cultivation realm. However, it was impossible for the 2 of them to leave. They were bona fide martial kings. If they were scared off by a superior-grade martial saint, it would be too much. Furthermore, the 2 of them believed that victory was still in their grasp. They just needed to be careful. The temptation of that secret treasure was still there. The person on the left was good with swords. He was a medial-grade martial king and had not comprehended the state of wind. The person on the right was good with his fists and legs. He was a superior-grade martial king and also had not comprehended the state of wind. When the 2 of them chased after him, Xiao Chan had already used his spiritual sense to check their cultivations. Now that he saw them personally, he confirmed it once again. To me, without comprehending a state, there is no need to fear a high cultivation. I have already recovered my essence. I will start with the person on the left. Wuxia transforms to Qi. As Xiao Chan brandished his saber, the ancient divine Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere. It turned into strands of purple saber qi and flew at the swordsman on the left. Qi, qi, qi. Saber lights danced around on the surface of the water, creating a screen of water that rose and fell on the surface of the sea. Can the saber qi of a martial saint be denser than the sword qi of a martial king? Break for me. The swordsman in the middle smiled coldly. His sword trembled as he sent out several extremely dense sword qi. Dang! 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 The saber qi and the sword qi clashed. However, what surprised the middle-aged swordsman was that his sword qi was not as dense as the saber qi. The saber chi chops several sword chi in half amidst the ding-ding-dang sounds. Chi breaks Wuxia, Xiao Chen shouted. He did not give the swordsman a chance to react. All the saber chi gathered together and formed a resplendent and dazzling saber chi more than 15 meters long. The saber light was dazzling, carrying the might of thunder. A boundless electric pressure surged at the swordsman. Thunder roared in the sky and boundless clouds churned. The resplendent saber chi swept by, kicking up two huge waves on the calm sea. By Muron, are you still not going to make a move? The middle-aged swordsman shouted at the superior grade martial king beside him in horror. By Muron smiled gently and said, I'm coming. Don't rush. Boom! Just as Xiao Chan controlled the boundless saber chi and charged forward, an intense fist wind came from the left. On the tip of the fist, a whirlwind formed in the air before exploding wildly. This punch had even destroyed the wind. Xiao Chan did not even bother to look. He continued to control the saber chi, not slowing down at all. Just as the fist wind was about to strike him, he clenched his left fist and punched. Two images of a tiger and a dragon circled around Xiao Chen's arm, giving off the aura of a tiger and a dragon roaring. When he punched, the air seemed like it was made of white paper. Bang! When the two fists collided, a huge force spread out. Bai Muron felt his arm tremble before his body bounced back. The pure force caused the bones in his arm to feel like they were falling apart. If not for Bai Muron's exquisite martial arts, this punch would have crippled his entire arm. Damn it! That is at least 50,000 kilograms of force. I underestimated him too much, Bai Muron thought in horror. Bai Muron thought in horror in his heart. His feet stepped on the surface of the water, and he quickly retreated. The huge impact caused a huge wave that was 10 meters high behind him. After Bai Muron retreated for close to 1,000 meters, he slowly came to a stop and dissipated all the force. When the swordsman in the middle saw Bai Muron knocked back by one punch, he was astonished. That startling saber chi was already before him. It looked like he could not count on anyone else. A resolute look flashed in the swordsman's eyes as he roared. All the essence in his body surged. A 10-meter-tall screen of water rose from the surface of the sea under his feet. I don't believe that even if you, a martial saint, have a state, your essence will surpass mine. Break, break, break. A resplendent pillar of light lit up on the sword. He pushed the wind-attributed essence to its limits. An intense storm of sword chi immediately appeared around the sword. Wuxia. The swordsman hacked down ferociously, giving off a resplendent light. He wanted to block Xiao Chen's chi breaks Wuxia. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. Suddenly, a red light appeared in the purple saber chi. It was the state of massacre from the scarlet throne infused into it. Scatter! The saber chi roared like thunder, filling the air with killing chi. It easily shattered the storm of sword chi the middle-aged swordsman sent out. Xiao Chen's aura was like a raging river. The might of his saber completely shattered the middle-aged swordsman's saber technique. The swordsman's momentum was exhausted. There was no hope of a comeback. Waves shot out in all directions from the surface of the sea. Xiao Chan passed through the screen of water and arrived before the middle-aged swordsman in a flash. He brandished his saber and sent out a screen of saber chi. Dang! 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 The middle-aged swordsman brandished his sword to block. At this moment he had already given up on snatching the secret treasure. He only wanted to find an opportunity to leave quickly. One had a flourishing aura, becoming more ferocious as the battle progressed. The other had no aura at all, only thinking of fleeing. The result was easy to imagine. Soon countless wounds of various sizes appeared on the swordsman's body. Blood flowed from the wounds and dripped into the seawater, turning the blue seawater scarlet. Boom! As the two sides fought, another startling aura appeared on Xiao Chen's left. The sound of explosions rang out endlessly in his ears. As the storm exploded, pillars of water shot up into the sky from the surface of the sea. This move of mine is at full power. It has a total of 75,000 kilograms of force. Let's see how you block it, Bai Muron thought to himself, his eyes bloodshot. Xiao Chen's saber technique paused and his attack slowed. The middle-aged swordsman rejoiced. He had managed to wait until Bai Muron made his move. He could take advantage of this opportunity to escape. Seeing the middle-aged swordsman flee, Xiao Qian shook his head slightly and revealed a mocking smile. Xiao Qian loosened his grip on the saber hilt with his right hand. He turned around and sent out a punch to meet Bai Muron's full-powered attack. The strength of his physical body and essence fused together. This punch contained 100,000 kilograms of force. Bang! Bai Muron vomited a mouthful of blood. His body flew back like a cannonball. His pale face was filled with horror. 100,000 kilograms of force. How is that possible? Xiao Qian turned around and stretched out his hand. Before the lunar shadow saber fell to the ground, he grabbed it again. With a thought, the snow-white lunar shadow saber turned pitch black, turning back into a transcendent heavenly weapon. Compared to an earth-rank spirit weapon, a heaven-rank spirit weapon's attack would be 20% stronger. Of course, the exhaustion would be several times greater. Rushing thunder roars breaking 1,000 army. The boundless thunderclouds churned in the sky above. Before the electric whirlpool formed, Xiao Qian made his move. There was no need to use the full power of the rushing thunder roars to deal with this stray dog. Suddenly, the middle-aged swordsman who was fleeing heard a clap of thunder behind him. He could not help but look back out of curiosity. However, what he saw was an unforgettable scene. Thunderclouds churned in the sky above the boundless sea. It was like a void had been torn apart. A knight flashing with electric light descended from the void. Wuxia. Before the swordsman could turn his head, the electric knight was like a bolt of lightning. The tip of the spear pierced a bowl-sized hole in his back, and the electric knight instantly exploded. An intense shockwave blasted out a huge pillar of water on the surface of the water. The middle-aged swordsman's body was carried into the sky. Xiao Qian's figure flashed. The instant the huge wave crashed down, he grabbed the middle-aged swordsman and landed on the water. The middle-aged swordsman coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. He smiled weakly and said, "This old man has wandered the continent for so many years. I did not expect to be defeated by a martial saint in the end." Xiao Qian said softly, "If the two of you were a little more united, you would not have to be so afraid of death. You might still have a chance to escape unscathed. Unfortunately, you are unable to do so. Even if you die, you can't blame others." Right after Xiao Qian spoke, he gave the swordsman a quick death with a palm strike. Then he removed the spatial ring on his hand. Chapter 377. Qi. The instant the middle-aged swordsman died, a large strand of scarlet light headed for Xiao Qian's forehead. The scarlet throne in Xiao Qian's sea of consciousness trembled continuously, appearing very excited. What a strong killing intent. Killing one person is much stronger than killing 10 demonic beasts of the same cultivation realm in the past. I wonder how many people have died on this person's hands? The trembling of the throne caused all the cells in Xiao Qian's body to rejoice. He actually felt like he was sinking into oblivion. No, I have to restrain this feeling. Otherwise, I might become a slave to this throne in the future. A determined look flashed in Xiao Qian's eyes. He ruthlessly cut off this feeling of pleasure that he should not have. Then he quickly walked over to Bai Muron. Bai Muron's right hand had endured close to 125 kilograms of force. Now it was completely crippled. The bones at the joints had already shattered into powder. Even with miraculous medicinal pills, this arm would be completely useless in half a year. In reality, even with Xiao Qian's current physical body, he would not be able to withstand more than 150 kilograms of force twice in a short period of time. Otherwise, he would not have swapped hands to receive the other party's attack. Bai Muron ran for his life on the undulating sea. Occasionally, he would turn his head to look at Xiao Qian, who was hot on his heels. Xiao Qian was not in a rush. He summoned out the scarlet throne and sat on it leisurely. The throne moved at Mach 2, unhurriedly following behind Bai Muron. After a full 6 hours, Bai Muron's essence qi was gradually exhausted, and his speed started to slow down. As Xiao Qian sat on the throne, he only exhausted a little of the essence in the pool of blood in the throne. The purple qi whirlpool slowly filled to the brim. It is time to end this. As the sun set in the west and dusk approached, Xiao Qian lost all patience to continue fooling around. He got up and stomped heavily on the scarlet clouds. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations, clear wind chop. Suddenly 9 cool breezes blew on the calm sea. When the cool breezes brushed the water, they did not cause any ripples, appearing very gentle. Xiao Qian hit his figure in the 9 gusts of wind, splitting himself into 9. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. In front of him, Bai Mu Ran, who was originally exhausted of his vitality and ammunition, suddenly felt the killing intent behind him disappear. He was overjoyed. Could it be that that person was already 1 step ahead of him and couldn't hold on anymore? When the old man looked back, he saw Xiao Qian's 9 figures charging at him from all directions at lightning speed. There was no killing chi at all. He could not even feel any killing intent. Bai Mu's expression suddenly changed as he exclaimed, "Clear wind chop. This is the secret technique of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, clear wind chop." However, so what if he knew? Now that his essence chi was exhausted, he was powerless to reverse the situation. Boom! 9 figures passed by him and suddenly merged together. Xiao Qian sheathed his saber and stood quietly in front of Bai Mu Ran. Bang bang bang. 9 finger-sized bloody holes appeared on the 9 acupoints on Bai Mu Ran's chest. Blood spurted out. He wanted to say something, but he didn't have the strength to. Soon Bai Mu Ran stopped breathing and fell into the vast sea. Immediately, another strand of invisible red light headed for the throne on the sea. The killing intent was actually more than double that of the swordsman's. Dida! 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 The pool of blood inside the throne immediately recovered a large portion of the blood that had just been drained. The size of the pool of blood had also expanded. Xiao Qian got rid of the pleasure of sinking into oblivion. Then he took Bai Mu Ran's spatial ring. The 2 martial kings were finally dealt with. Xiao Qian heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he opened the spatial ring of the swordsman. There were 500 medial-grade spirit stones and several tens of thousands of inferior-grade spirit stones. Xiao Qian did not say anything and immediately took them out. As for the medicinal pills for treating injuries, food, and other miscellaneous items, Xiao Qian could not be bothered to take them out. He tossed them into the corner of the universe ring along with the spatial ring. 500 medial-grade spirit stones should be enough for me to cultivate for a while. Let's see what is in Bai Mu Ran's spatial ring. He is a superior-grade martial king. He should not disappoint me. Xiao Qian sent in his spiritual sense and a pile of medial-grade spirit stones appeared in his mind. When he counted them, there were at least 2,000 of them. Xiao Qian could not help but smile gently. No wonder there are so many cultivators in the world who like to kill others to snatch their treasures. Such a harvest is too tempting. I wonder how many people died at the hands of this person to accumulate such wealth. Aside from the medial-grade spirit stones, there were more than 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Xiao Qian took them out as well as some secret manuals and miscellaneous items. Xiao Qian was not interested in them. He tossed them into the corner of the universe ring along with the spatial ring. Unfortunately, the 2 martial kings had not comprehended a state. If one of them had comprehended a state, Xiao Qian would not be as relaxed as he was now. Withdraw! Xiao Qian shouted and the scarlet throne immediately turned into a beam of light and shot towards Xiao Qian's forehead. Then it entered his sea of consciousness. There were also 4 strands of white flames lingering in the middle of his sea of consciousness. These were the lunar true flames that did not have an origin energy. There were too few of them. It would be a pity to abandon them. However, keeping them would not be of much use. He could only wait for them to accumulate to a certain amount before they could be of use. Xiao Qian took out the peak inferior grade secret treasure from the universe ring and looked at it carefully. Only now did he have the time to look at it. The inner vest was made of soft leather. When Xiao Qian touched it, it felt very soft. It should be the leather of some spirit beast. There were countless talisman scripts carved on the inner vest. When Xiao Qian touched it, he could clearly feel a strong energy fluctuating at his fingertips. It was like the rhythmic strings of a zither. Xiao Qian infused his spiritual sense into it and cleared away the imprints left by the predecessors. Then he placed his own imprint on it. Then Xiao Qian removed the clear wind robes and prepared to try on this secret treasure. Although the clear wind robes was only an ordinary inferior grade secret treasure, its effects were always present. As Xiao Qian grew stronger, his speed would increase by 1 level. His movement technique, movement and attacks would all increase by 1 level. It would never be outdated. The gaps left behind in the past would all be filled up automatically. Xiao Chen liked it very much. When Xiao Chen put on the inner vest, he immediately felt a mysterious energy beam shoot out from the soft vest. It penetrated his chest and into his internal organs. The energy beam quickly formed a membrane, wrapping all his internal organs together. It naturally added a layer of defense. Xiao Chen's face lit up with joy. He smiled gently and said, "Not only does this inner vest provide external defense, it can also protect my internal organs. My defense has increased by 20% both inside and out." Given this, Xiao Chen's physical body had already reached the dragon tendon tiger bone physique. His defense was no weaker than a peak martial king's. At first, Xiao Chen's internal organs felt a little uncomfortable when the energy wrapped around them. However, after he wore the clear wind robes and moved around for a while, he slowly got used to it. After a while, Xiao Chen looked in the direction of Chenren Island. He could no longer see the multicolored light soaring into the sky. Clearly, the secret treasures had stopped appearing. I have been gone for about half a day. The huge waves around Chenren Island should have weakened by now. I have to hurry over. A silver warship shot out from Xiao Chen's right eye. Then, Xiao Chen jumped onto the bow of the warship and soared into the sky like a bolt of silver lightning. After flying at full speed for more than 2 hours, Xiao Chen finally saw the silhouette of the huge waves. They surged endlessly, towering into the clouds and rushing into the sky. It was as shocking as before. Xiao Chen put away the silver warship and slowly descended, slowing down. When the secret treasures flew out, the many cultivators on Greenwind Island received the news. A large number of cultivators gathered around the huge waves. Occasionally, people would break through the huge waves and enter Chenren Island. It looked like the huge waves had indeed weakened. "We are still not strong enough. We have to wait until the huge waves weaken completely tomorrow before we can enter." Indeed, the people entering are all superior grade martial kings and peak superior grade martial kings. It will be too difficult for us to break through the huge waves. When the cultivators around Xiao Chen saw the huge waves, they shook their heads and sighed. They felt very anxious, but they could not do anything. Xiao Chen used his spiritual sense to sense the energy of the huge waves. Then, he made his way through the crowd and quickly flew towards the huge waves. He is only a superior grade martial saint, yet he wants to break through the huge waves. This fellow is too naive. Be careful not to get injured when the waves rebound. Youngsters these days do not know the gravity of the situation. As a superior grade martial saint, even with a state, he will not be able to break through this huge wave. Indeed, we martial kings cannot break through it. We have to wait until tomorrow. This fellow will definitely not be able to do it. When the group of people saw Xiao Chen walking towards the huge waves with only the strength of a superior grade martial saint, they all laughed. Xiao Chen's mental state had reached a certain level long ago. He could not be bothered with all this gossip. When Xiao Chen arrived before the huge waves, he did not stop. He drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed, like a bolt of lightning leaping out. A dense saber light flashed on the huge waves, instantly opening a hole. Xiao Chen's figure flashed and entered the huge waves before they closed up. The entire process was completed in one breath. It was very natural. It took no more than 3 seconds. Hey, he really went in. I am a peak medial grade martial king, but after trying 3 times I still could not get in. Instead, I ended up suffering from significant internal injuries. Seeing Xiao Chen's figure disappear behind the huge waves, the cultivators who mocked him earlier were all astonished. They all felt that this was inconceivable. Xiao! Xiao! Not long after, 2 beams of light flew over from the horizon. They were 2 young cultivators, one male and one female. They did not slow down at all as they rushed towards the huge waves. They did not stop at all, directly charging into the huge waves. It's Jin Wuji and Yu Chenxi. These 2 are here as well, someone said softly when he recognized the 2. Soon after, countless young warriors flew over. These people paused in front of the huge waves for a while, and then broke through the huge waves one by one, flashing into them. These were the outstanding talents of the various nations that Jin Wuji had invited. When these people heard the news, they all rushed over. The group of middle-aged martial kings below all remained silent. After a long time, someone sighed and said, "The times have changed. Now it is the world of the young. How old are these geniuses? Their cultivations are profound. Their strength is no weaker than ours. Chapter 378. Indeed, during our time, such people would have been dragons and phoenixes among men, absolute geniuses. However, there are so many of them now. Originally, these people were mocking Xiao Chan for overestimating himself. However, when they saw so many young cultivators breaking through the huge waves, they all sighed. The instant Xiao Chan entered the huge waves, he immediately felt the space around him turn chaotic. His vision turned blurry and he only recovered his wits after a long time. The sky was blue. He could clearly see the white clouds. However, the huge waves behind him were separated by several dozen kilometers. It is indeed as that bloody bladesman said. The natural laws here have changed. It is a completely different world outside and inside. Xiao Chan collected his thoughts and focused his gaze on the island in front. Then he quickly flew over. 10 minutes later, Xiao Chan landed firmly on the edge of the island. A huge palace stood at the highest point of the island. The cultivators breaking through the waves all rushed towards the palace. The treasures should be inside the palace. Xiao Chan hesitated for a while before he followed. I, Wu Shangshuan, have finally returned to Qinren Island. This time, I must obtain a natural treasure that can allow me to break through to half-step martial monarch. Above the seaside of Qinren Island, Wu Shangshuan smiled sinisterly. I hope that brat has reached this island as well. He has 3 secret treasures at the same time. He must be very valuable. After Wu Shangshuan spoke, he quickly flew towards the palace at the highest point of Qinren Island. The huge and majestic palace looked very close. However, it took some time to get there. The doors of the palace were already open, and there were a few collapsed stone pillars outside. When Xiao Chan arrived, he discovered that the palace was already mostly destroyed. Many of the buildings had already collapsed. However, the main palace was still intact. Since Xiao Chan was already here, he could not hesitate any longer. He followed the crowd and entered the palace. He kept his spiritual sense within 100 meters of him, maintaining his vigilance. The passageways in the main hall were extremely complicated. Xiao Chan felt like he was in a spiderweb, all tangled up and tangled together. There were night pearls embedded in the ceiling. When the light shone down, it did not make one's vision dim. Xiao Chan extended out his spiritual sense. In this place, his spiritual sense could spread out without any hindrance. Soon, the rough outline of the main palace appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The buildings in the main palace were arranged in circles. There were 15 of them, which was equivalent to 15 floors. It really looked like a spiderweb. There was a spacious main hall in the core. That should be the heart of the palace. Just as Xiao Chan was about to check the situation on each floor, he felt a sharp pain in his mind. The map of the main hall flickered continuously in his mind. His mind felt like it was about to explode. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly, and he quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. The layout of this main hall actually followed some strange formation. He could only investigate it by himself. There were many open rooms on both sides of the road, and the things inside had been emptied. It seemed that the people who came here first had already taken away the treasures here. There must have been many good things in the past. We came too late. Now everything has been moved away. It's fine. The real secret treasures, spirit stones, medicinal pills, and the like are in the innermost floors. The outer floors are filled with gold, agate, jadeite, and other worldly items. A team of 5 people next to Xiao Chan came out of a room and discussed softly. How do you know so much? You have never been here before. The person who spoke earlier clearly did not believe it. I have not been here before, but there were many people in the past. News would have spread. The rooms in the inner floors are guarded by demonic beasts, puppet beasts, and combat puppets. It is very dangerous. We have to defeat them before we can take away the things safely. There are many rooms. In the past, only a few people came. Time was limited. It was impossible to take them all. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go to the inner floors and take a look. This place has been emptied. The 5 of them stopped talking and rushed forward at full speed. It was like the secret treasures were waving at them, waiting for them to take them. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He was not in a rush to follow them. He said indifferently, How can the secret treasures be so easy to take? Otherwise, the people who came every time would not have died. Not even 10% of them returned. Xiao Chun casually walked into a room at the side. The room was no more than 10 meters long, 5 meters wide and 4 meters tall. It was a rather spacious room. There was an empty box under the southern wall. Xiao Chun went over and took a look. He discovered a piece of gold that had not been cleaned in time. It looks like this place is indeed the periphery of the palace. There are no special treasures inside, Xiao Chun muttered as he held the piece of gold in his hand. There was a large pile of metal shards on the ground. Xiao Chun used his scabbard to pry them apart. After a while, he saw a few exhausted medial-grade spirit stones. This is only the first floor, and there are already combat puppets or puppet beasts using medial-grade spirit stones. It is easy to imagine how dangerous the later floors will be, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Xiao Chun remained in the building on the first floor for a long time. He went in and out of the empty rooms and observed them carefully. Fortuitous encounters were often accompanied by unimaginable danger. He was no longer the hot-headed youth who had just stepped out into the world. He no longer harbored unrealistic illusions that he had fallen into a cave and picked up a secret manual. After that, he became a powerful expert. Xiao Chun had experienced too many life and death situations since he left Mo City. In this cruel world, many lives could vanish in the blink of an eye, dying an unnatural death. Xiao Chun searched the floors carefully. Every time he passed a floor, he would enter a few rooms and search them carefully. He wanted to see if he could find any information that would be useful to him. Soon he passed the third floor and arrived at the building on the fourth floor. There were already some rooms on the fourth floor that no one visited. Xiao Chun heard the sound of fighting. Someone was fighting with the combat puppets or puppet beasts in the rooms. However, the treasures on the fourth floor were all mundane items. There was nothing that cultivators needed, such as spirit stones or medicinal pills. Xiao Chun continued forward and arrived at an entrance to the fifth floor. Because the main palace was built in circles, there were many entrances to each floor. The door in front of Xiao Chun was only one of them. The door was already open, and there were a few corpses lying below it. When Xiao Chun walked over and took a look, his expression changed slightly. The group of cultivators that he had met in a hurry earlier were among the corpses. There were 3 men and 2 women, all superior-grade martial kings. Their corpses were in perfect condition. Of the 5 corpses, there was only a wound on their necks. Clearly, they had been caught off guard and were killed with a sword. All the valuables on their bodies had been plundered. Only the humans could kill and steal their treasures. In the end, these people probably didn't expect such an ending. Xiao! A strand of sword qi tore through the air and headed for Xiao Chun from behind the door. The sword qi was very dense and gave off a piercing sonic boom. Xiao Chun had been vigilant long ago. He swung his saber and destroyed this strand of sword qi. 2 superior-grade martial kings walked out from behind the door. The scar on their faces was very eye-catching. When they saw Xiao Chun, they laughed hoarsely. Since when can a superior-grade martial saint join in the fun on Chenren Island? However, you are pretty strong to be able to block my sword. This person should have comprehended a state. Otherwise, he would not have been able to kill 5 martial kings of the same cultivation realm in an instant. He was a troublesome person. Furthermore, he had been waiting here for a long time, killing all the cultivators that passed by mercilessly. Clearly, he was a vicious and merciless person. Dong! 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 Soft footsteps came from behind Xiao Chun. The middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. He glared at Xiao Chun and said, "Consider yourself lucky that my sword scar saw you. Who is so powerful?" Before the person arrived, he managed to scare this person away. Xiao Chun could not help but look back suspiciously. The footsteps drew closer. Xiao Chun soon saw the appearance of this person. He was stunned. It turned out to be the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan, one of the 10 great bladesmen of the ancient desolate land, ranked 10th. When Sun Guangquan saw Xiao Chun, he was stunned as well. Then he smiled and said, "Little brother, I did not expect to meet you again. Let me give you a suggestion. With your strength you can try your luck on the 5th floor. If you go any further, it will be dangerous." This person is interesting. Xiao Chun watched as Sun Guangquan left. He smiled faintly and said, "Let's go to the 5th floor and take a look first. Hopefully I can find something good." The moment Xiao Chan stepped through the door, he immediately heard the sound of fighting. Occasionally there would be an intense explosion, echoing throughout the 5th floor. When Xiao Chan looked around, he realized that these sounds came from the rooms of the 5th floor. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. He knew that there were many treasure rooms on the 5th floor that no one had visited before. He quickly found a room with a tightly shut door. Xiao Chan took a deep breath and regained his calm. Then, he ferociously kicked the door to smithereens. Xiao Chen's body flashed, and he stuck himself to the wall beside the door. When the combat puppet inside heard the commotion, it rushed out with heavy steps. Boom! 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 When the combat puppet stepped out of the door, Xiao Chan suddenly exploded out. The lunar shadow saber in his hand moved like a storm as he hacked at the combat puppet 3 times. Xiao Chan used his full power in every attack, not holding back at all. He merged his essence with his strength. He had more than 100,000 kilograms of force. The first attack chopped off the combat puppet's right hand, which was holding the weapon. The second attack chopped off its left hand. The third attack chopped off the combat puppet's right leg. The crippled combat puppet immediately fell to the ground. It had completely lost its combat prowess. Xiao Chan had his reasons for doing this. Through his observations in the first few floors, after observing the first few floors, he discovered that all the combat puppets and puppet beasts would shatter very cleanly in the end, all in small pieces. At that time, Xiao Chan had guessed that these combat puppets would self-destruct before they died. When he walked in and heard the explosions, he was even more certain of his guess. Xiao Chan only needed to cripple the combat puppet by breaking its limbs. The might of 20-odd medial-grade spirit stones self-destructing was horrifying just thinking about it. Xiao Chan was not willing to take the risk. He ignored the struggling combat puppet on the ground and headed straight for the treasure room. Chapter 379. The room was very big. Xiao Chan looked around and found 3 wooden chests. The wooden chests were covered in dust. Xiao Chan moved back 10 meters and casually sent out a palm wind, shattering the lid of the box in the middle into dust. A gentle light came from the box. There were more than 5,000 inferior-grade spirit stones lying quietly in the wooden box. Xiao Chan used the same method to open the other 2 boxes. However, the result disappointed Xiao Chan. It was still a pile of inferior-grade spirit stones. Xiao Chan swept all the inferior-grade spirit stones into his universe ring. Then he continued to wander around the 5th floor. Along the way, he ran into several martial kings who were blind. When these martial kings saw that Xiao Chan was alone and was only a superior-grade martial saint, they wanted to kill him and snatch his treasures. Without hesitation, Xiao Chan decisively made a counterattack. Cultivators who wandered around the 5th floor would naturally not be very strong. They would only be able to increase Xiao Chen's blood pool in the Scarlet Throne and lose their own treasures. Bang! Xiao Chan dealt with another combat puppet and opened the wooden box. However, he only obtained 3 more boxes of inferior-grade spirit stones, much to his disappointment. Along the way, Xiao Chan had already broken into at least 10 rooms. In the end, he only obtained inferior-grade spirit stones and some trashy martial techniques. To him, they were not of much use. No, I can't continue to be so cautious. The rewards are usually proportional to the danger. I have to go a few more floors in. Xiao Chan put away the spirit stones and thought to himself. After making up his mind, Xiao Chan no longer hesitated. He prepared to head for the 6th floor. The deeper he went, the fewer rooms there would be. The danger would also be higher, but naturally the rewards would be higher as well. After taking a quick glance at the crowd on the 6th floor, Xiao Chan did not stop. He discovered that there were no experts. Xiao Chan continued forward without stopping. If experts were not worth staying in, it meant that they were not worth much. In that case, there was no need for Xiao Chan to stay for long. Along the way, Xiao Chan did not stop moving. If there were any martial kings blocking his way, he would quickly deal with them. Only when he reached the 10th floor did Xiao Chan stop. There were less than 100 rooms left on both sides of the circular passageway on the 10th floor, but none of the sealed rooms were left. The ground was strewn with the corpses of cultivators. The blood had yet to coagulate. Some of the cultivators who were not completely dead were still groaning in pain. Xiao Chun looked at the corpses on the ground and frowned slightly. Many of these people were almost as strong as him. In other words, if he continued forward, he might encounter someone who could threaten his life. Perhaps he would be like the person lying on the ground, completely unable to stand up. Keep going. Xiao Chun made up his mind. His right hand remained on the saber hilt as he walked forward quickly. On the 11th floor, there were still no sealed treasure rooms. There were even more corpses on the ground. Xiao Chun did not even bother to look at them as he continued forward. The 12th, 13th, 14th, the treasure rooms in the core regions had all been opened. The treasures inside had all been taken away. There was nothing left. I can only go to the 15th floor, Xiao Chun thought to himself. I have already reached this point. There is no turning back. Xiao Chun focused his mind and headed for the passage to the 15th floor. There were many corpses lying at the entrance. The corpses had all been killed in one strike. Their spatial rings had also been taken away. Clearly, someone was waiting here. Xiao Chun scanned with his spiritual sense and immediately saw a mysterious old man hidden in the shadows behind the door. Xiao Chun smiled coldly to himself. He sent out a strand of purple saber chi. With a so sound, it pierced through the door and headed for the mysterious old man. A dagger appeared in the mysterious old man's hand. With a gentle slash, the purple saber chi was easily sliced in half like a piece of cloth. Bang! The mysterious old man's figure flashed, and the wooden door immediately shattered. His appearance appeared before Xiao Chun's eyes. Wu Shangshuan. Wu Shangshuan looked at Xiao Chun and smiled sinisterly. Little brother, I did not expect to meet you again. How about it? Can you reconsider my request from back then? Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and smiled faintly. So old Wu is here. I have offended you earlier. When Wu Shangshuan saw Xiao Chun sheath his saber, he lowered his guard. He thought to himself, in the end this is just a newbie. I can make use of him. Thinking of this, Wu Shangshuan laughed loudly. It is just a small matter. This treasure hunt far surpassed this old man's expectations. Young hero should have seen the miserable situation in the first few floors. It looks like there is a chance to open the doors of the main palace and enter the main hall. How about it? Can you reconsider my previous request? Xiao Chun slowly approached Wu Shangshuan. He discovered that when Wu Shangshuan spoke, he was still in a state of alert. Furthermore, there were no openings in his stance. No matter where Xiao Chun attacked, Wu Shangshuan was able to dodge immediately. He was very cautious. Xiao Chun maintained a distance of 5 meters from Wu Shangshuan. He said indifferently, since we met, let's go and take a look together. Senior, please tell me about the situation ahead. Wu Shangshuan nodded and smiled. There are a total of 70 treasure rooms on the 15th floor. Because there were not many people in the past, no one managed to break through the mechanical beasts guarding the 15th floor. Xiao Chun looked at the entrance to the 15th floor. Indeed, he could see the remains of the mechanical beasts among the corpses. He thought about the remains of the mechanical beasts that he had seen at the entrances to the previous floors. The entrances to every floor should have guardian beasts of varying strength. However, Xiao Chun had arrived rather late, and the gates had already been opened. That was why he was able to enter unobstructed. Let's go. Right now, there are at least 4 or 5 people in every treasure room. With you working with this old man, there is no need to pick up scraps, Wu Shangshuan said casually. There were at least 15 corpses on the ground. Based on Wu Shangshuan's words, they should have been killed by him. This person was extraordinarily vicious. Wu Shangshuan let Xiao Chun through the passageway. When they arrived before the treasure room, a sinister look flashed in his eyes. The sound of fighting came from inside. Clearly, a group of cultivators had already entered. Bang! Wu Shangshuan kicked the door open and entered first. For superior grade martial kings were fighting a ferocious rank 7 demonic beast in the spacious room. 3 golden wooden boxes lay quietly in the corner. They looked incredibly heavy. When they saw Wu Shangshuan suddenly appear, they were startled. The leader of the group knocked back the demonic beast with a palm strike. The leader leaped out of the battle and arrived before Wu Shangshuan. He looked at Xiao Chun behind him and said, Wu Shangshuan, what are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to scram? Wu Shangshuan smiled faintly and said, Young one, this old man was the first to arrive at this treasure room. What am I doing here? Naturally, it is to chase you all away. Young one glanced at Xiao Chan and smiled with some disdain. He said, with just him? You are too naive. Make a move first and help me delay this person. I will deal with the other three. When we return, we will split the treasures in this room. Otherwise, with your strength, you will not be able to gain any advantage in the 15th floor. As Wu Shangshuan spoke, he projected his voice into Xiao Qin's ears. Xiao Qin thought very quickly. After a while, as the two spoke, he made a decision. He drew his saber. Xiao Chan drew his saber and sent out a purple saber light at Yang Wen. The saber light was incredibly dense. Yang Wen smiled faintly and sent out a few palm winds. As the palm winds howled, cyclones appeared in the air. Unexpectedly, the might of these casual palm winds was extraordinary. Chi, chi, chi. However, Xiao Qin's saber light was even denser. The intense state of thunder easily broke the palm winds. Xiao Chan took advantage of this opportunity to get close to Yang Wen. Wu Shangshuan chuckled and quickly headed for the other three. Yang Wen, take your time playing. I'll go and deal with your brother. Damn it. Unexpectedly, he comprehended the state of thunder. Clearly, I will not be able to take him down in 2 or 3 moves. Yang Wen's expression changed drastically. He wanted to stop Wu Shangshuan. However, a saber light blocked him. After dodging a few times, the saber light followed him like a shadow. Yang Wen could not get away. He could only focus all his attention on Xiao Chan. You spoiled my plans. I will kill you today. Yang Wen roared ferociously and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chan. A few strands of cold qi spread out from the palm wind. They moved around like needles and thread. Unexpectedly, this Yang Wen comprehended the state of ice. Xiao Chan was a superior grade martial king with the state of ice. This person would not be easy to deal with. There is still Wu Shangshuan here. Neither of them are easy to deal with. I'll deal with him first. After making up his mind, Xiao Chan circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He did not clash head-on with Yang Wen's strong attacks. Instead, he moved around like a slippery eel. Whenever Yang Wen tried to pull away, the saber light would strike like a venomous snake. Even with Yang Wen's abilities, he could only struggle to deal with it. There were several times when Yang Wen tried to pull away and catch Xiao Chan to fight him head-on. However, his tricks were too weak. Xiao Chan saw through them with one glance, so they were useless. There were even a few times when Xiao Chan beat him at his own game, catching him off guard. Ah! A miserable cry rang out. On the other side, Wu Shangshuan finally succeeded. He managed to sneak attack and kill one of the 3 martial kings fighting the demonic beast. Yang Wen felt very anxious. However, Xiao Chan continued to stick to him without changing his expression, preventing Yang Wen from helping him. The 4 martial kings had surrounded the rank 7 demonic beast for a long time. Originally, victory was in their grasp. They would be able to kill the demonic beast soon. However, now that they were down one person, they could not kill the demonic beast. They could only barely block it. Wu Shangshuan's sneak attack was within their expectations. With one less person, the remaining 2 were no match for the demonic beast. The demonic beast chased them too closely. They did not even have the chance to pull away. Hu Qi! Another scarlet light flew out. The dagger in Wu Shangshuan's hand took another life. Then he disappeared, hiding in the shadows of the room. Wu Shangshuan's aura was completely gone. He did not attract the attention of the demonic beast at all, catching them off guard. We are still missing one more person. After we deal with Yang Wen, that brat will no longer have any value. At that time, the entrance to the main hall should be open. We can go there to try our luck. Profound pills, miraculous medicines, and natural treasures can only be found there. Wu Shangshuan, who was hidden in the shadows, smiled faintly. Everything was within his control. Chapter 380. Wuxia. The remaining cultivator had just narrowly dodged the demonic beast's attack. Before he could catch his breath, a black dagger pierced through his heart from behind. His life force drained quickly. His eyes widened in disbelief. He had been very careful. How could his sneak attack succeed? Wu Shangshuan casually broke this person's neck and slowly pulled out his dagger. He said indifferently, "In your next life, Don't meet this old man again. When the demonic beast saw that it had lost its target, it immediately fixed its scarlet eyes on Wu Shangshuan. Wu Shangshuan smiled and waved his left hand. His shadow on the ground immediately turned into countless black lines and flew up. Xiu! 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 The black lines were like tough, sharp arrows. They carried a strong force as they pinned the demonic beast to the wall, preventing it from moving. Yang Wen knew that the situation was hopeless. He shouted and knocked back Xiao Chun with a palm strike. Then he rushed out of the door. Xiao Chun deflected his opponent's palm wind. Originally, he wanted to stick to his opponent again. However, he suddenly thought of something and paused for a while. Xiao Chun slowed down and chased after Yang Wen, maintaining a distance of 2 meters. Trying to leave? It's too late. Wu Shangshuan's body suddenly turned into a black beam of light. The beam of light elongated and instantly blocked the door. Then it turned back into Wu Shangshuan's body. Bang! Wu Shangshuan and Yang Wen each exchanged a palm strike. Shockwaves surged out, causing the hidden treasure room to tremble continuously. Wu Shangshuan only took a small step back. However, Yang Wen took 5 or 6 steps back before he could stand stably. Clearly, Wu Shangshuan was stronger than Yang Wen. Didn't you have a good time chasing me away earlier because you had more people? Come again, you bastard. There had to be some grudge between the two of them. Furthermore, Wu Shangshuan had suffered a small loss and been humiliated by the other party. At this moment, Wu Shangshuan no longer had anything to worry about. He used his full power and forced Yang Wen to retreat. Then he laughed maniacally. Hu Qi! A saber light flashed by Wu Shangshuan's side. It was Xiao Chun coming over to help. Wu Shangshuan smiled coldly to himself. What a fool! You are about to die, yet you are still helping me. However, the smile on Xiao Chun's face did not change. He chuckled and said, Little brother, aside from the treasures in the boxes, we will also split the treasures on the 3 equally. Later, when we go to the main hall, there will be plenty of opportunities. Just put in more effort and kill this person quickly. Xiao Chun sent out a strand of dense saber qi. At the same time, he inadvertently distanced himself from Wu Shangshuan, breaking Yang Wen's palm wind. With his right foot slightly off the ground, Xiao Chun smiled gently and said, In that case, I will thank you first, Venerable Wu. Hehe, you're welcome. This is what you deserve. Boo-hoo, you bang. Before Wu Shangshuan could finish speaking, Xiao Chun suddenly kicked Wu Shangshuan's chin, nearly causing it to fall off. Wu Shangshuan tumbled violently in the air. Not only was this kick very powerful, but the angle and timing were also extremely precise. Xiao Chun had made his move just when Wu Shangshuan had completely let down his guard. This completely exceeded Wu Shangshuan's expectations. He had not expected the silly Xiao Chun to suddenly attack him. The sudden turn of events stunned Yang Wen at first. Then he reacted. There was no time to lose. He attacked at the same time as Xiao Chun. Each of them punched the tumbling Wu Shangshuan's chest. Boom! Boom! 2 muffled sounds came from Wu Shangshuan's body. Half of his internal organs had shattered. He vomited a large mouthful of blood and crashed heavily into the wall. Good. White-robed bladesman Wu Shangshuan will remember you. Just you wait, Wu Shangshuan said ruthlessly as he struggled on the ground. Wu Shangshuan's body elongated again, turning into a clump of black light. He continued to elongate as he fled. He executed that strange movement technique once again. Bang! Another violent explosion came from the treasure room. The surging airflow rampaged in the spacious room for a long time, forming a violent whirlwind. Xiao Chun and Yang Wen did not chase after the injured Wu Shangshuan. Instead, they immediately attacked him with their full power. The two of them each took a few steps back. Yang Wen shook his slightly numb arm. He thought to himself, this punch actually contained 100,000 kilograms of force. Xiao Chun said indifferently, aside from your essence being denser than mine, your physical strength, state, and cultivation technique are all inferior to mine. The martial techniques you learn are the same as mine peak earth-ranked martial techniques. Take a box and you can leave. Don't think too much. Yang Wen was stunned for a long time. He did not expect this person to be so calm and collected at such a young age. Xiao Qin's analysis was logical and accurate. The truth was as he said. No wonder he could toy with Wu Shangshuan. Indeed, heroes come from youth. A young one admit defeat. Young one did not waste any more time. He casually picked up a golden box and prepared to take his companion's spatial ring before leaving. Xiao Chun suddenly released his killing chi. The Scarlet Throne trembled continuously as the pure state of massacre pressed down on Yang Wen. Did I say you could take the spatial ring? Xiao Chen's cold voice rang out along with his killing intent. Yang Wen's heart trembled. That pure slaughter intent was like a mountain pressing down on his head. The terrifying killing intent actually made it hard for him to breathe. This youth actually has another state. Furthermore, it is the hard-to-comprehend state of massacre. When Yang Wen thought of this, he quickly gave up on his plan. He picked up the golden box and quickly left. He was afraid that if he stayed here for another moment, he would lose his life. Xiao Chun scattered the state of massacre. When he saw Yang Wen leave, he heaved a sigh of relief. He said indifferently, "The state of massacre is really extraordinary." Unexpectedly, it managed to scare away a superior grade martial king. Xiao Chun had only been with Wu Shangshuan for an hour. However, Xiao Chun felt like he had been with him for half a month. It was extremely tough. This was a battle of wits and courage, a test of one's heart. Xiao Chun was not used to it. However, he had to learn it in this world. Otherwise, it would be hard to survive. Fortunately, the outcome was not bad. The matter was resolved perfectly. Everything was within his control. After dealing with the dying demonic beast, Xiao Chun took out the demonic core. Then he looked at the two golden wooden boxes. He wondered if the items on the 15th floor would give him a pleasant surprise. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Chun walked over and carefully opened the box on the left. It was the same as the previous boxes. There were no traps. Rows of medial-grade spirit stones were neatly arranged in the large box. There were so many of them that when Xiao Chun opened the box, a vast spiritual energy surged out. Xiao Chun's face lit up in joy. He smiled gently and said, "There are probably at least 2,000 medial-grade spirit stones. The harvest is really significant. No wonder the killing outside is so intense." After carefully counting, Xiao Chun found that there were a total of 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones. The number was startling. Xiao Chun took out the spirit stones and placed them in his universe ring. Then he focused on the other box. He did not know what other pleasant surprises this box would give him. Creak! The box opened gently, giving off a heavy sound. The huge box was empty except for a pair of black gloves in the corner. The gloves were covered in dust. They looked very old. Xiao Chun took them out suspiciously and gently patted the dust off. After all the dust had settled, Xiao Chun carefully examined the gloves. The black gloves had a very pure color. They were just black. Furthermore, there were no other decorations on them. The gloves were rather thin. They were as thick as a piece of cloth. When Xiao Chun touched them, he felt a metallic coolness. However, they were not as hard as metal. There was a toughness to it. It felt very comfortable to the touch. This should be a secret treasure. Based on its aura, it should be a peak inferior grade secret treasure. It should be of the same grade as the inner vest. Xiao Chun removed the marks left behind by the people who came before him. Then he slowly put them on. The gloves were not very sturdy. There were holes for the fingers. Half of his fingers were exposed. Xiao Chun felt a slight itch on the back of his hand. However, it disappeared after a while. Then he clenched his fist and waved it around in the air. Xiao Chun was shocked to discover that his attack speed had increased by 20%. With the help of the clear wind robes, his attack speed had increased by 30%. Xiao Chun looked at the black gloves and smiled gently. So they are gloves that increase one's attack speed. The windwalk shoes increase one's movement speed. And the clear wind robes increase one's evasion speed. Given this, I have gathered all the secret treasures that increase my speed. The reason why Xiao Chun said he had temporarily gathered all the secret treasures was because inferior grade secret treasures would increase the cultivator's cultivation realm. Once a cultivator surpassed medial grade martial king, they would no longer have any effect. Right now, Xiao Chun only had 20% of an effect. By the time he became a medial grade martial king, it would only be 10%. At that time, he would have to use a medial grade secret treasure for it to be effective. However, medial grade secret treasures were already very rare. Under normal circumstances it would be very difficult to obtain them. Xiao Chan collected his thoughts and placed his right hand on the saber hilt. He focused his mind, chi, and spirit and focused his gaze on the spot in front of him. He intended to test out the might of this secret treasure. Xiao Chan quickly drew the lunar shadow saber, and casually executed drawing the saber. His speed reached Mach 3 at the speed of lightning. The air was gently sliced apart like a curtain of water. When Xiao Chan sheathed his saber, the air that was sliced apart slowly mended itself like a curtain of water. Previously, Xiao Chan could only reach Mach 3 at the speed of Mach 3 by exhausting a large amount of essence. Now that he had these black gloves, he only needed to exhaust a small amount of essence and casually execute drawing the saber. Secret treasures. Secret treasures. No wonder so many people went crazy for them, putting in so much effort to obtain them. A good secret treasure was very useful to a cultivator. After Xiao Chan calmed himself, he collected the spatial rings of the two martial kings on the ground. However, he only obtained about 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. The rest were just some miscellaneous items and inferior grade spirit stones. However, Xiao Chan would never complain about having too little unexpected wealth. He was already very satisfied. Xiao Chan smiled faintly and started to walk forward. The sounds of fighting on the 15th floor had already slowly stopped. Clearly, everyone had already searched through all the rooms that hid the treasures. Bang! Just as Xiao Chan was thinking, there was a loud sound in front of him. Following that, there was a miserable scream. The scream was very sharp and piercing. It was very miserable. Chapter 381. Xiao Chan frowned slightly and followed quietly, wanting to see what was going on. Xiao Chan hid himself in a corner where the sound came from. Then he poked his head out and looked. He saw two young cultivators standing at the doorstep. One of them had been struck by a saber. His entire shoulder was chopped off. There was still a flame burning on the wound. His expression was one of extreme pain. Lu Meng, didn't you make a gentleman's agreement back then? Didn't you say that you would not sneak attack your companions? The injured person asked in dissatisfaction as he endured the pain. It turned out that Xiao Chan had seen these two people before. They were the outstanding talents of the various nations that Jin Wuji had gathered at the restaurant. However, only one of them left a deep impression on Xiao Chan. That was Lu Meng, who had fought with Yu Chenxi. As for the other person, he could not remember his name. Lu Meng laughed loudly. Are you stupid? You really believe that? There are 3 boxes of medial grade spirit stones. That is a total of 6,000 spirit stones. There is no point in splitting them with you. Furthermore, who would know if I killed you? You can just be an ordinary person in your next life. Wuxia. Lu Meng casually dealt with this person with a saber strike. Then, he revealed a greedy smile and took out the other party's spatial ring. After checking for a while, he sighed. This brat did not find any secret treasures. It looks like luck is more important to find secret treasures. However, there are some rank 7 medicinal pills. I'll go to the main hall and try my luck. After Lu Meng spoke, he ignored the corpse on the ground, his former companion, and strode towards the main hall. Xiao Chan walked out of the shadows and looked at the corpse on the ground. A bitter smile flashed in his eyes. The strong preyed on the weak. The human heart was unfathomable. Unfortunately, this bloody lesson was paid for with one's life. Xiao Chan still remembered that Lu Meng was the first to make a gentleman's agreement. When Xiao Chan refused to make a gentleman's agreement, the person on the ground seemed to be the first to mock him. This scene made Xiao Chan raise his guard again. He walked towards the main hall of the main hall. His right hand never stopped on his saber hilt. According to what he had sensed with his spiritual sense when he had first arrived, the buildings in the main hall were distributed in circles, and the area of each circle was gradually shrinking. On the 15th floor, there were only 70 or so treasure rooms left. It was obvious that there were hundreds of rooms on the outermost floor. At the very center of the main hall was a relatively large main hall. It was the core of the entire main hall, and also the single largest building in the main hall. The arrangement of the buildings in the main hall was arranged according to some unknown and mysterious formation. To a certain extent, the main hall was the eye of this huge formation. That place should be a little more special than the other places. Presumably, the best things should be stored there. Xiao Qian's speed was extremely fast. A moment later he arrived at one of the 9 entrances leading to the main hall on the 15th floor. When he heard sounds coming from inside, he prepared to enter. Pushing open the door, Xiao Qian lifted his foot and stepped inside. As soon as his foot touched the ground, he felt dazzled, and only regained his senses after a few breaths. It turned out that this main hall had already formed a world of its own. It was completely separated from the original buildings, forming its own unique terrain. It could even see the sky and clouds flying around, and the air was very fresh. It was much larger than Xiao Qian had imagined. It was simply unbelievable. The ground was made up of sturdy soil. Even further away was a huge garden. To be more precise, it was a herb garden with many varieties. Even from a distance, Xiao Qian could smell the fragrance of herbs. It was even richer than the herb garden he had seen in the underground world. From where Xiao Qian stood, he could only see the tip of the iceberg. However, every spirit herb was at least 100 years old. From this angle, Xiao Qian could see many rare spirit herbs. They could be considered natural treasures. They were all peak quality spirit herbs. If the lowest ranked spirit herbs could live for more than 100 years, their value would soar. That was to say, the entire herb garden was filled with priceless treasures. However, at the entrance of the herb garden, the hundreds of cultivators who had rushed over were all gathered there. Everyone's eyes lit up as they looked at the natural treasures in the herb garden. However, no one was willing to move or take a step forward. A 500-year-old gold-and-silver flame flower. It can raise fire-attributed cultivation by 10 years. This is really good stuff. There is also a 300-year-old ice crystal grass, the main ingredient for refining the ice congealing pill. Unexpectedly, there are so many of them here. Furthermore, they are so old. I think I even saw a 1,000-year-old ginseng. This is a great tonic for nourishing qi and blood. It can live for at most 1,000 years. If it is not picked now, it will be a waste. What a pity! Exclamations came from the crowd. However, no one took the first step forward. They all stopped outside the herb garden. They had clearly arrived before a mountain of treasures, yet they stopped here. There was definitely something strange going on. Even if there were any demonic beasts guarding the garden, the weakest of the 300-odd people here was a superior-grade martial king. There were even many peak superior-grade martial kings. There were also several young cultivators. Although they were only inferior-grade martial kings, they had all comprehended states. Their strength was no weaker than a superior-grade martial king's. With such a strong force gathered, they could easily kill a peak rank 7 demonic beast. Unless there was an existence equivalent to a rank 8 demonic beast, it would not be a problem that could be solved with numbers. That was not something that could be solved with numbers. Similarly, when small streams converged into a large river, it could destroy a dam, but it could not destroy a towering mountain. Xiao Qian was not in a rush to find out the reason. Instead, he swept his gaze across the 300-odd people in the herb garden. For a group of 300-odd people to be able to make it this far, their strength could not be underestimated. Aside from a few extremely strong cultivators, most of them formed their own small circles in groups of 4 or 5. As Xiao Qian sized up the crowd, he discovered the Bloody Bladesman. There were about 5 or 6 people who were as strong as him. These 5 or 6 people relied on their strength to stand at the very front of the crowd. No one dared to stand in front of them. These were all experts who had been famous for a long time. Xiao Qian paid close attention to them. If he entered the herb garden, it would be hard to guarantee that he would not get into a fight with them. There was one more person that Xiao Qian paid special attention to. It was the scarred man that he had seen earlier. This person wore black robes and stood silently in the crowd. The surrounding people unconsciously distanced themselves from this person. They all seemed to be afraid of him. If the Bloody Bladesman had not arrived earlier, Xiao Qian might have made a move against this person. In a corner of the crowd, Xiao Qian also discovered Yu Chenxi. She was with Jin Wuji. There were also some young cultivators gathered around the two of them. Most of them were the outstanding talents of the various nations that had attended the gathering at the restaurant. Xiao Qian discovered Lu Meng among them. A quick count gave a total of 20 or 30 people. In terms of group strength, this group should be the strongest. Xiao Qian observed carefully. He made a mental note of the people that were worth paying attention to. Then, he came up with countermeasures to deal with them. A group of people is chattering here. Why are they not going up? Move aside. This old man will go and take a look. Suddenly, a stout man walked out from the other entrance to the 15th floor. He had a stocky build and was more than 2 meters tall. When he stood there, he looked like a small hill. This person carried a huge axe on his back. He had a square face, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. His chin was untrimmed and had a beard. He looked very boorish. It's Bai Lishi, a famous expert from the ancient desolate land. He cultivates the physical body and has boundless strength. He is no weaker than the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan. Unexpectedly, he is here as well, someone in the crowd said softly when he recognized the stout man. Boom! 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 With every step Bai Lishi took, the ground seemed to tremble slightly. He was very tall, making others feel like they were dwarfed by him. The crowd automatically opened up a path for him. Bai Lishi laughed loudly when he saw the bloody bladesman. Then he smiled and said, "Old son, you are here to join in the excitement as well. Hey, there are quite a few old friends here. I'll go and see what it is that even you do not dare to touch." When Bai Lishi arrived at the front of the crowd and saw the scene at the herb garden's gates, his earlier loud and carefree voice fell silent. After a while, Bai Lishi shook his head and smiled bitterly. To think that it is this thing guarding here. No wonder you are all unwilling to go forward. Xiaochen felt curious. When the crowd closed in, he quietly followed them. He slowly moved forward. After a while, he finally saw the situation at the herb garden's gates. Xiaochen could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. He understood why these people did not move forward when they saw the large number of spirit herbs and natural treasures. 10 odd mangled corpses lay in front of the distant gates. When Xiaochen looked around, he looked very miserable and bloody. Behind these corpses was a demonic snake the size of a small mountain. It blocked the entire herb garden's gates. That demonic snake had a total of 7 heads and 4 legs. Its entire body was covered in black scales that looked like chainmail. There was a black crown on each of the snake's heads. When the snake opened its mouth, it occasionally flicked out its tongue. Unexpectedly, this was a 7-headed snake that could rival a rank 8 demonic beast. This kind of demonic snake could grow and evolve. Every head represented an attribute. It could grow a maximum of 9 heads. At that time it would become a rank 9 demonic beast. Furthermore, it would be a king among rank 9 demonic beasts. It would not be an ordinary rank 9 demonic beast. It would be unrivaled within the same rank. Although it only had 7 heads, it was a king among rank 7 demonic beasts. Its strength was no weaker than a rank 8 demonic beast. However, logically speaking, the crowd should be able to deal with such a demonic beast. However, whoever made the first move would be at a disadvantage. When they entered the herb garden, they would lose any chance of victory if they tried to snatch spirit herbs from others. No one was stupid. No one would be so kind-hearted. Hence they ended up in such a stalemate. Xiaochen looked in the other directions of the herb garden. He discovered a faint barrier around them. That was a barrier laid by a martial sage. It seemed that there was only one way to enter the herb garden. Dragging this out is not a solution. How about we all attack together? This 7-headed snake has not matured yet. We can deal with it, a superior grade martial king in the crowd suggested. Someone immediately smiled coldly and said, "That's good. You go and give it a try first." The person who spoke was immediately speechless. Although he said that there was no problem, he did not have the guts to fight. The corpses on the ground were a good example. Chapter 382. Such a stalemate is not a solution, Xiaochen thought to himself. These people are all very smart. No one will make a move first. I have to think of a way. Bai Lishi, weren't you yelling very loudly earlier? Why are you mute now? A peak superior grade martial king mocked indifferently. Bai Lishi laughed loudly and said, "Do you think I am stupid just because I am tall and strong? Slaughterer of 1,000 Wang He, if you have the guts, go first. I guarantee that I will support you." The peak experts present were even more cautious than everyone expected. They did not move at all. They were clearly very anxious, but they did not move. Xiao! Just at this moment, an arrow suddenly flew over from the distant horizon. The arrow tore through the air and gave off a piercing sonic boom as it headed for the seven-headed snake. The arrow carried a lot of force. With a bang, it opened a bloody hole in the seven-headed snake's neck. Black blood spurted out. The might of this arrow actually broke through the seven-headed snake's defense. Shio! 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 Before everyone's astonished gazes, another 3 arrows flew over from the sky. They struck the seven-headed snake's body and left 3 more wounds. Rumble! The seven-headed snake was thoroughly enraged. It quickly headed for the person who shot the arrow. The person who shot the arrow hid behind the crowd. The seven-headed snake could not avoid passing through the crowd. The first to bear the brunt of the attack was the group of peak experts standing in front. Before they could react, the seven-headed snake's huge body pressed down, forcing them to make a move. Bang! 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 Loud shouts came from the crowd. The seven-headed snake's mountain-like body pressed down. It simply attacked indiscriminately. In an instant, the peak experts brought out their strongest strength. Shock waves flew everywhere. Dust flew everywhere and the ground trembled. The scene instantly turned chaotic. After receiving such a heavy blow, the seven-headed snake forgot its original target. It opened its mouth and roared ferociously. The seven-headed snake spat out many attacks, be it icicles, flames, or poison mist. All sorts of attacks filled the crowd. With every step the seven-headed snake took, the ground trembled. Some of the unlucky cultivators were crushed to death. The demonic snakes kept the 7 peak martial kings pinned down. They could not free themselves. They were the closest to the seven-headed snake, and their attacks were the fiercest and most powerful. Naturally, the demon snake would focus on them. Behind a distant rock, Shao Chun slowly put away the Soul Slayer bow. He smiled faintly and said, "That's good. Let's deal with the demon snake first before we enter." With the support of the 7 apex experts, the others slowly left the terrifying battlefield. That place was filled with poisonous smoke, ice and fire were everywhere, and the storm was howling. It was not a place they could stay. Bang! A quick-witted cultivator wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to enter the herb garden and seize the initiative. However, he was chopped in half by a flying axe. Blood splattered everywhere, and he did not have the slightest chance to resist. So. The 2 halves of the corpse were chopped into pieces by a few waves of saber chi and sword chi. The 7 peak experts had attacked simultaneously, while blocking the 7-headed serpent's attack. If anyone dares to enter before this old man will be the first to kill him. Bai Lishi shouted as he recalled his axe. The other cultivators immediately became serious. They no longer dared to have any other thoughts. How could they block 7 experts attacking at the same time? Originally, a few of the 7 wanted to leave the battlefield early. However, every time they thought of retreating, someone else would block them. The bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan said indifferently, "Don't have any other thoughts. If everyone retreats, the 7-headed snake will kill the last person left. Let's just focus on killing this demonic snake first." Pusiai. Bai Lishi swung his axe ferociously. The pure force tore the air in half, shattering the surging black flames that the 7-headed snake spat out. If I find out who shot the arrow from behind, if this old man does not tear him apart, he is not Bai Lishi. Unexpectedly, he dares to scheme against me. Although the 7-headed snake was strong, with the combined efforts of 7 peak martial kings, its undefeatable and destructive aura was slowly beaten down. All sorts of strong martial techniques were executed. The crowd now had a clearer understanding of the strength of a peak martial king. After 2 hours, the scales of victory tilted in the favor of the 7 peak cultivators. When several cultivators saw the opportunity, they joined the battlefield as well. The king of peak rank 7 demonic beasts was a treasure from top to bottom. These people chose to make a move now because they wanted a share of the spoils. Jin Wuji looked at the gates of the herb garden and his eyes flickered. He hesitated for a while before saying, "Miss Yu, how about we go in now?" Given Jin Wuji's strength and status, he naturally did not dare to enter under the noses of the 7 peak experts. However, it was different for Yu Chenxi. Not to mention her strength, just based on her status, the 7 peak experts would not dare to do anything to her. Knowing what Jin Wuji was thinking, Yu Chenxi smiled faintly and said, "There is no rush. Since I promised to help you obtain the flowing golden light fruit, I will definitely do it. Boom! There was a loud sound as the huge axe in Bai Lishi's hand chopped off one of the heads of the seven-headed snake. With one less head, the seven-headed snake's strength immediately plummeted. It was continuously pushed back by the crowd as its heads fell off one by one. Finally, the seven-headed snake fell to the ground unwillingly. Its huge body collapsed, and the ground shook violently again. The originally flat ground was now riddled with thousands of holes. Cracks appeared everywhere. There were also many bottomless pits. It was hard to imagine that this place had been flat not long ago. Several cultivators had been struck by the seven-headed snake's initial large-scale attack. At this moment they were doing their best to recover. There were also some cultivators struck by the poison gas and were in an even more miserable state. Their complexions were black and their lips were pale. They probably would not be able to enter the herb garden to obtain more treasures. The culprit of all this, Xiao Qian, had already blended into the crowd with a calm expression. He watched calmly as the cultivators split up the materials of the seven-headed snake. Naturally, the seven-headed snake's 7 demonic cores of different attributes were obtained by Bai Lishi, the bloody bladesman, and the other 6. The remaining people could only split up the snake's skin, crown, and hard scales. However, they were still very valuable. Bai Lishi obtained an earth-attributed demonic core, and casually placed it in his universe ring. Then, he swept his ferocious gaze across the crowd. Bai Lishi was more than 2 meters tall and had a stocky build. Coupled with his ferocious expression, he looked down from above and his gaze was terrifying. Bai Lishi scanned the crowd a few times before fixing his gaze on Xiao Qian. He glared at Xiao Qian before slowly walking over. "Move aside for this old man," Bai Lishi shouted ferociously. The cultivators in front of Xiao Qian all moved aside, not wanting to offend this god of plague. Bai Lishi arrived 5 meters in front of Xiao Qian. He was now a head taller than Xiao Qian. He looked down at Xiao Qian and shouted, "Brat, were you the one who shot those arrows earlier?" Bai Lishi's voice was deep and powerful. It sounded like thunder in everyone's ears. It was very imposing. When a regular cultivator heard this, they would immediately be frightened into not daring to resist. Xiao Qian's gaze was calm. His heart was calm. He was neither servile nor overbearing. He gently shook his head and said, "No." Bai Lishi said coldly, "You still deny it? When I saw you earlier, there was a clear fluctuation in your emotions. After that, you quickly hid it. If you are not guilty, you would not do that." Xiao Qian's expression did not change. He raised his head and looked at Bai Lishi without fear. He said, "What a joke. What does my thoughts have to do with you? If you do not have proof, then stop spouting nonsense in front of me." Bai Lishi's face sank. He said, "Earlier I was only 50% confident. Now I am 70% confident that you were the one who shot those arrows. If you want to prove it to me, take out your spatial ring. As long as there are no arrows, I will not seek trouble with you." The other 6 peak martial kings looked over as well. When they heard Bai Lishi's words, they started to feel suspicious. Clearly, they wanted Xiao Qian to open his spatial ring to prove his innocence. When Xiao Qian saw this, his heart sank slightly. If the 7 peak martial kings forced him, he would not know what to do. Suddenly, Xiao Qian thought of a countermeasure. He pointed at Bai Lishi and shouted, "You said that I was the one who shot those arrows. I also said that you were the one who shot those arrows." Bai Lishi said, "Nonsense. I was clearly standing in front. How could I be the one who shot those arrows?" Xiao Qian smiled faintly to himself. Bai Lishi finally fell for it. He said softly, "It is not like there are no cloning techniques in this world. Unless you open your spatial ring as well and prove your innocence. Since you have the right to suspect me, I have the right to suspect you as well. As long as you open your spatial ring and there are no arrows, I will not seek trouble with you." Xiao Qian returned Bai Lishi's words to Bai Lishi, word for word. Every cultivator would inevitably have some secret or valuable items hidden in their spatial ring. How could they show it to others so easily? As long as Bai Lishi did not dare to show it, there was no need for Xiao Qian to do so. Bai Lishi's expression did not change. After a moment of silence, he shouted, "Little brat, so what if this old man does not have proof? Since when do I, Bai Lishi, need proof to kill?" Bai Lixi's right hand turned into a saber and chopped down at Xiao Qin's head with a tremendous force. Bai Lixi cultivated the physical body and was a peak martial king. This palm saber strike was sufficient to chop apart a city wall. I was just waiting for you to make a move. Xiao Qin's face sank. He was not surprised at all. He did not take a step back. He bent his left arm 90 degrees and quickly held it above his head. Dang! Bai Lixi's palm saber struck Xiao Qin's forearm. It was like two pieces of metal colliding, giving off a loud bang. A visible shockwave spread out in the surroundings. Boom! A strong force traveled from Xiao Qin's arm to his feet. The ground around Xiao Qin could not bear the force. Shattered rock soared into the air and surrounded the two of them. However, Xiao Qin did not move at all. He relied on the strength of his physical body to block Bai Lixi's attack. How can the physical body of the white-robed bladesman be so strong? He can actually block Bai Lixi's saber strike head-on. Bai Lixi did not have a martial spirit and focused on cultivating the physical body. A casual strike of his already has 50,000 kilograms of force. Unexpectedly, a bladesman dares to clash head-on. This is too incredible. Chapter 383. This Xiao Qin is really horrifying. At such a young age, he actually has the confidence to fight against the experts of the older generation. When the surrounding people saw Xiao Qin using his physical body to block Bai Lixi's attack, they were all astonished. This was especially so for the outstanding talents of the various nations gathered in the restaurant. They were all astonished. They had not expected Xiao Qin to be so strong. Back then, although Xiao Qin had fought to a draw with Yu Chenxi, most people thought that Yu Chenxi had held back on purpose. In their opinion, Xiao Qin's strength was no different from theirs. In fact, due to his cultivation, he was even weaker than them. However, the scene before them now overturned their views. Jin Wuji's expression turned grave. He labeled Xiao Qin as someone he had to eliminate. Otherwise, he might be surpassed by him in the future. Without giving Bai Lixi any time to be astonished, Xiao Qin clenched his right hand into a fist. Crackling sounds came from his fingers as he quickly gathered all the vital qi in his body. The image of a tiger and dragon circled around Xiao Qin's arm, as he circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Then he punched at Bai Lixi. This punch contained his full power. He unleashed all the strength of his physical body without holding anything back. Since he made his move, Xiao Qin had no intention of holding back. The instant Bai Lixi was stunned, Xiao Qin's fist wind had already arrived. Bai Lixi hastily retreated and countered with a punch of his own. Bang! There was a loud sound. Bai Lixi's hurried punch was completely suppressed by Xiao Qin's fist wind. Bai Lixi's huge body flew back. Bai Lixi flew back 100 meters before he landed heavily on the ground. He supported himself with one hand and looked up at Xiao Qin. There was some shock on his coarse face. The force that Xiao Qin's small body burst out with was a total of 150 tons of force. This was more than double the force that Bai Lixi had hurriedly sent out. No one has ever forced me into such a sorry state in terms of strength. You are the first and the last, Bai Lixi said indifferently. Bai Lixi said indifferently. Then all the bones in his body started to wriggle. His entire body actually grew larger in a short period of time. Haha. Bai Lixi's aura became extremely berserk. A strong aura spread around him, forming an intense tornado that blew the sand and dust on the ground. Just as Bai Lixi was about to make a move, the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan arrived before him. He said indifferently, Bai Lixi, don't forget your purpose here. If you continue like this, others might take advantage of you. If you lose the 1,000-year-old spirit herb you intend to use to strengthen your physical body and qi, you will have to wait for another few decades. If you lose the 1,000-year-old spirit qi and blood of your body, will. Bai Lixi withdrew his aura and said indifferently, Brat, I will remember you. No matter where you go, I, Bai Lixi, will return this punch. This was for the best. Xiao Qin did not want to fight with Bai Lixi here. In the end, both sides would end up injured. Bai Lixi's true strength was higher than Xiao Qin's. If they really fought, Xiao Qin only had a 40% chance of winning. Furthermore, there was a group of people in the surroundings, eyeing him covetously. If both sides ended up injured, it would only benefit the others. Furthermore, there was a group of people in the surroundings, eyeing him covetously. If both sides ended up injured, it would only benefit the others. As long as they did not pursue the matter of who the archer was, it did not matter. Otherwise, with the 7 peak martial kings pressuring him, he could only withdraw from this fortuitous encounter. The 7 peak martial kings ignored Xiao Qian and headed for the entrance of the herb garden with large strides. The black-robed man with the ugly scar on his face immediately followed them like a shadow. The others immediately followed excitedly. It was like the ground was filled with natural treasures, waiting for them to pick them up. However, was it really so easy to get heaven and earth treasures? As the crowd rushed in impatiently, Xiao Qian slowly followed. He was about to forcefully open his minor meridians. This was the perfect time to search for spirit herbs to nourish his meridians. There were also spirit herbs for increasing cultivation, replenishing qi and blood, tempering the physical body, and so on. Xiao Qian closed his eyes and his spiritual sense instantly spread throughout the herb garden, searching for the spirit core hidden in his spiritual sense. In that instant, all the spirit herbs in Xiao Qian's herb garden appeared in his mind. There were too many spirit herbs. The information was as dense as the sea. Xiao Qian had to spend a lot of effort before he managed to find the spirit herbs he needed. After a while, Xiao Qian opened his eyes and revealed a faint smile. Xiao Qian quickly dashed around the herb garden. While the others were still searching for spirit herbs, Xiao Qian did not even need to look to know where the spirit herbs he needed were. I found it. A 200-year-old flowing gold wind leaf fruit. It can nourish the meridians by ingesting it. It is even more beneficial for new meridians. Xiao Qian revealed a faint smile and stopped in front of a golden fruit. There were a total of 9 ripe fruits on a small branch. Taking out a jade box, Xiao Qian carefully picked it and put it away. He looked into the distance and saw an extremely rare tendon refining flower. Xiao Qian did not intend to give up. He passed through the excited crowd in front of him and picked the tendon refining flower. Then he immediately flew away. Haha! I actually found a 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. It is enough to increase my cultivation by 20 years. I have struck gold this time. A middle-aged cultivator held a snow-white ginseng that looked like it was covered in a layer of frost. He shouted excitedly, "This person is really seeking death. If you find something good, you can just keep it for yourself. Is there a need to be so excited?" Xiao Qian revealed a faint expression of pity. Then, he ignored the middle-aged cultivator and started his own search for spirit herbs. After the middle-aged cultivator spoke, he saw the surrounding cultivators looking at him. He knew he had said something wrong. He placed the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng into his spatial ring and ran. However, it was too late. When several cultivators heard him, they blocked him ferociously. Even the team that he had formed at the last minute abandoned him and turned to pressure him instead. Bang! 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 The sound of fighting entered Xiao Qian's ears. It was the middle-aged cultivator fighting with the crowd, unwilling to give up. After a few moves, he was beaten up until he could not retaliate. This person steeled his heart and casually tossed the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng away. Hu Qi! When Xiao Qian heard a sound coming from behind him, he sent out his spiritual sense and immediately sensed something flying over. He could not help but reveal a helpless smile. Xiao Qian turned around and gently waved his hand. He caught the item behind him. It was the 1,000-year-old peak-grade snow ginseng. It was very rare for a spirit herb to live for 1,000 years. The conditions of light, temperature, location of luck, and many other factors were very harsh. 1,000 years was also a huge hurdle. This hurdle was similar to the cultivation realms of human cultivators. After crossing it, it would become an immortal-grade spirit herb. If it could not, it would rot in the field and become fertilizer for the other spirit herbs, vanishing like smoke. In the entire 3-kilometer-long herb garden, Xiao Qian checked with his spiritual sense only 10 stalks of spirit herbs that were more than 1,000 years old. However, there were many spirit herbs that were 800 or 900 years old. With all these factors, it was easy to imagine how precious this 1,000-year-old snow ginseng was. However, this was not the time to take it. When that fool shouted, half the people in the herb garden were attracted. At this moment, even a peak martial king would not be able to resist this force. Actually, at this moment, if someone was an eyesore, Xiao Chan could just hand the snow ginseng over. There were not many people like Xiao Chan who were self-aware. Xiao Chan turned his head and looked at Bai Lishi, who was searching for spirit herbs to temper his physical body. Xiao Chan smiled faintly and shouted, "Bai Lishi, look over here." Bai Lishi looked up and was slightly stunned. When he saw Xiao Chan smiling at him, he felt it was strange. Just as he was about to shout angrily, a white item flew over to him. Bai Lishi stretched out his hand and grabbed it. When he saw the item in his hand, he could not help but rejoice. It is a 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Although it is useless to me, I can exchange it for a treasure of equal value. Before Bai Lishi could withdraw his smile, he saw more than 200 people rushing at him. His expression changed greatly as he cursed, "Damn it!" Bai Lishi took out the huge axe on his back and sent a person flying with it. However, the crowd continued to surge forward. They were all attracted by the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Their eyes were all bloodshot. That was 20 years of cultivation. If they could obtain it, they would be able to save 20 years of cultivation. It was too tempting to cultivators. Even the ferocious Bai Lishi could not suppress this group of people. He had no choice but to put away his huge axe and rush out of the herb garden. "White-robed bladesman, I Bai Lishi will remember you. After I leave this Qianren Island, I will tear you in half." Bai Lishi cursed loudly as he dodged the other attacks. He wanted to give up on the snow ginseng in his hand, but he could not bear to. If he lost it, who knew if he could find another one? An immortal-grade natural treasure that was more than 1,000 years old was something that people both loved and hated. Fortunately, I managed to get rid of a problem. Let's go look for other spirit herbs that can increase cultivation. A 1,000-year-old spirit herb is rather rare. However, there are many 800- or 900-year-old spirit herbs. If I can obtain all of them, they would be as valuable as the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Xiao Chan smiled faintly as he spoke. Furthermore, this was not eye-catching and would not attract any attention. 800-year-old deer antler, 900-year-old lingji, 700-year-old fragrant fruit, 500-year-old seven-colored fallen leaf grass. These spirit herbs that could increase cultivation were all picked by Xiao Chan, making a fortune on his own. Occasionally, battles for spirit herbs would occur in the distance. However, Xiao Chan could not even be bothered to look at them. He simply ignored them. The herb garden was very vast. With a glance, most of them were ordinary spirit herbs that were 100 or 200 years old. Herbs that were several hundred years old would take a long time to find. However, Xiao Chan had the aid of his spiritual sense. He did not need to search for them. After he picked a spirit herb, he would immediately move on to the next one. No one else had a greater harvest than him. After a while, Xiao Chan stopped picking medicinal pills that could replenish cultivation. He muttered, "I already have 10. These should be sufficient for me to advance to peak superior grade martial saint in a short period of time. Then, I should go look for some spirit herbs for tempering the physical body to prevent others from getting ahead of me." After that, Xiao Chan methodically moved around the herb garden, searching for spirit herbs for tempering the physical body. Chapter 384. This kind of spirit herb was extremely rare. It was even rarer than spirit herbs that could increase cultivation and replenish qi and blood. Otherwise, Bai Lishi would not have had to go through so much trouble to find them. When Xiao Chan scanned the area with his spiritual sense, he found only 6 stalks of this kind of spirit herb older than 500 years. Furthermore, they were rather far from each other. Xiao Chan spent an hour before he managed to collect all of them. This was especially so for the last stalk. Someone nearly got to it first. Xiao Chan fought with that person and chased him away before he managed to obtain it after much difficulty. Xiao Chan placed the scarlet blood flower in his universe ring, and revealed a satisfied smile. He thought to himself, success. He had obtained all the spirit herbs that he needed the most. Furthermore, he had picked some peak-grade spirit herbs along the way. His harvest was unparalleled. In the remaining time, Xiao Chan would casually look for a few valuable spirit herbs to exchange for some spirit stones. He would no longer be in such a rush. White-robed bladesman Xiao Chan, it looks like your harvest is not small. A familiar melodious voice came from behind. Xiao Chan turned his head back and saw Yu Chenxi with an extraordinary aura. In this herb garden filled with a medicinal fragrance and flowers, Yu Chenxi's aura that could topple cities appeared even more spirited. One could not help but take a few more glances. Jin Wuji, who was beside Xiao Chan, had a wide smile on his face. Clearly, he had obtained what he wanted as well. However, when he saw Xiao Chan, a barely detectable killing chi flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chan smiled gently and said, "It's all right. How was your harvest?" Yu Chenxi stretched out his hand to stroke the black hair on his forehead. He shook his head and smiled gently. "I was not as lucky as you. The thing I wanted was not here. However, I did find some spirit herbs that could increase cultivation." At this moment, a series of exclamations suddenly rang out from the end of the herb garden. Everyone quickly gathered there. Xiao Chan turned his head back out of curiosity. He discovered that the place where the crowd gathered had already surpassed the size of the herb garden. Xiao Chan had not used his spiritual sense to scan that place, so he did not know what it was. Jin Wuji's expression changed and he said, "Let's go and take a look." The two of them quickly followed behind him. When they arrived, they discovered that there was actually another small herb garden at the end of the several thousand zhonglong herb garden. However, there weren't any precious spirit herbs in that small herb garden. All of them had a kind of bitter tea-colored flowers. In the middle of the flowers, a sacred coffin made of white jade lay quietly. It looked incomparably solemn. Sage coffin. It really is a sage coffin. It is completely made of platinum glazed jade. Only a martial sage can rest in this coffin. I've struck it rich this time. I just need to find one of the funerary objects of a sage, and I won't have to worry about it. If it's the body of a blue-robed emperor after 1,000 years, there might even be a holy treasure left behind, which could directly double his power. Legend has it that if a martial artist reached the level of the blue-robed emperor, his corpse would not decompose even after thousands of years. If there was a good method to nourish it, the cultivation, and experience of a sage's life would condense into a supreme holy treasure in the body. As for a super expert of the level of Emperor Wu, there was no need to go through so much trouble. As long as they died, they would definitely leave behind a holy treasure. Furthermore, it would be an even higher emperor-grade secret treasure. The 200-odd cultivators all revealed excited gazes as they cried out in astonishment. In the crowd, the knife-scarred man in a black robe also had an extremely excited look in his eyes. Using a voice that everyone could hear, he said, "The information is correct. There really is the remains of a saint. This time, the sect leader will definitely be satisfied." Xiao Chen's gaze was calm as he revealed a pondering expression. He carefully observed the structure and terrain of the small herb garden. Slowly, he discovered something interesting. The boundary of the large herb garden was an inconspicuous concave shape. Furthermore, this small herb garden happened to be embedded within this concave shape. The place with the densest earth-ranked spiritual energy actually flowed towards that small herb garden. There was only one purpose for doing this: to nourish a holy treasure. The sage's body in this sage coffin would definitely have a holy treasure. Xiao Chun muttered to himself, "This senior really put in a lot of effort, leaving behind supreme treasures for his descendants." After his descendants obtained the treasure map, they could enter the treasure island to cultivate and obtain treasures every once in a while. This ensured that the strength of the clan's descendants could be passed down continuously. The demonic beasts and combat puppets left behind to guard the treasures were a test for the clan's descendants. If they wanted to obtain the treasures, they had to be strong enough. If they did not have enough strength, they would have to wait for the next generation of talented clan disciples to obtain the treasures. Like this, it was a survival of the fittest. This ensured that the clan would prosper and would never decline. After 1,000 years, the holy treasure in his body would be obtained by the clan's descendants. Then the clan would rise up. However, this senior, who had reached the level of a half-step Emperor Wu, did not expect that the strength of his descendants would be too weak. Not long after he died, his descendants were all killed. Then, the treasure map was circulated in the Devil's Savannah. As Xiao Chan pondered all this, the 200-odd cultivators present all ran into the small herb garden impatiently. Jin Wuji also followed. Yu Chenxi glanced at Xiao Chan, who did not move. he said with some surprise. White-robed bladesman Xiaochan, are you not interested in the holy treasure? Even if you cannot obtain the holy treasure, it should not be a problem for you to snatch a few burial items. Xiaochan smiled faintly and did not say anything. He glanced at the black-robed bladesman 100 meters away. That person did not move either. Then Xiaochan used his finger to point at the few peak martial kings at the front of the crowd. His meaning was clear without saying. It was not that they did not want to, it was that there was no opportunity. Even if they went, it would be a waste. The remaining 6 peak martial kings in the herb garden exchanged glances and smiled tacitly. Bang! 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 A few strands of extremely strong saber chi and sword chi suddenly shot out from the weapons in the hands of the 6 people. The cultivators beside each of them were all stunned. Before these peak martial kings could react, the strong sword chi struck them. Those with strong defenses were severely injured and lost their combat prowess. As for those with weak defenses, they were chopped in half, dying without a complete corpse. The moment these peak martial kings made their move, they used their full power. Surging essence combined with strong states, they were practically unrivaled in the crowd. With the 6 peak martial kings working together, they killed 70 to 80 people in a few breaths of time. Dozens of people were severely injured and lost their combat prowess. If they did not die, they would be severely injured. Since they did not hold back at all, there were no cultivators who were lightly injured. After a while, the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan was the first to stop. He said sullenly, "You are not qualified to obtain the supreme treasure left behind by a half-step Emperor Wu. Just obediently go to the herb garden and pick some spirit herbs." The 1,000 slaughterer Wang he also stopped what he was doing. He slowly wiped the blood off his hands and said sinisterly, "If you are dissatisfied, you can try my 1,000 slaughterer hand." The other 4 peak martial kings all stopped as well. Their killing chi soared into the sky. When they linked together, they formed a vast sea pressing down on the crowd. The remaining cultivators were horrified. Along with fear, there was an indescribable rage. Originally, with the strength of more than 200 people, they would have been able to fight against the 6 peak martial kings. However, no one expected these peak martial kings to have such a tacit understanding. They immediately came to an agreement to chase away the others. Caught off guard, they killed more than 100 people. Even if the remaining cultivators wanted to fight, they did not have the strength to do so. The sudden turn of events shocked Yu Chenxi. He looked at Xiaochan again. Xiaochan's calm expression was like he had expected this. This made Yu Chenxi feel like he could not see through him. "You knew this would happen long ago?" Yu Chenxi could not help but ask. Xiaochan nodded and said softly, "It is common sense. When they worked together to stop the other cultivators outside the herb garden, I could guess it. The reason they did not start a massacre in the herb garden was because there were no treasures worth making a move on them. Furthermore, the herb garden was very vast. The things they obtained were more than enough for them to share. Now that the sage treasure had appeared, it was clear that there were not enough for the 6 of them. How could they allow the others to join in?" Yu Chenxi continued to ask, "Then why are you not leaving? Could there still be a chance?" Xiaochan did not say anything. He only casually glanced at the black-robed man 100 meters away. "I will count to 10. I hope there will not be a 7th person in the small herb garden. Otherwise we will all die." A peak martial king in the small herb garden said expressionlessly. A martial king could not help but curse. "This is too much. How can he be so tyrannical?" Jin Wuji, who was in the crowd, was filled with rage as well. However, at the same time, he looked at the few strands of black hair in his hand with lingering fear. Earlier he had gotten too close and caught the attention of the bloody bladesman, Sun Guangquan. After Sun Guangquan saw Jin Wuji's appearance, Sun Guangquan only chopped off a few strands of black hair. Jin Wuji knew that Sun Guangquan was giving face to his sect. If Jin Wuji did not leave, Sun Guangquan would not give him face. 1 2 3 7 8. As that peak martial king started counting, the other cultivators felt uneasy. However, when they saw the many bloody corpses on the ground, they could only helplessly leave the herb garden. They could only leave the herb garden helplessly. By the time they counted to 8, not a single one was left. This peak martial king immediately stopped counting and revealed a satisfied smile. He said indifferently, "That's more like it. No matter how good a treasure is, if one does not have the life to enjoy it, what is the point?" Boom! Just as the peak martial king spoke, the scarred black-robed man appeared beside the sage coffin at some point in time. He used his palm to lift the lid off the coffin. Hoo-chee! Hoo-chee! The coffin lid made of platinum-glazed jade spun intensely in the air. It spun faster and faster until it turned into an earth-shattering whirlwind. The strong wind howled. Unexpectedly, there was the roar of tigers and wolves in the wind. Dust flew everywhere and petals filled the air. In an instant, the entire small herb garden changed color. The coffin lid carried a boundless strong wind and dust. It carried an overwhelming aura as it surged towards the 6 peak martial kings. Chapter 385. The opportunity that Xiao Chun had been waiting for finally appeared. An electric light flashed, and his body instantly disappeared from Yu Chenxi's side. The scarred man in black robes did not hesitate to take out the corpse of the half-step Emperor Wu. Just as he was about to take away the funerary objects inside, a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared beside him, followed by an extremely sharp blood-red saber light. An extremely sharp scarlet saber light formed a boundless saber technique. Occasionally, it flickered with electricity as it attacked the scarred man. The scarred man ignored this attack and decisively withdrew his hand. Then, he carried the half-step Emperor Wu's corpse and soared into the sky. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. The incomparably sharp saber technique from earlier vanished without a trace. He had bet correctly that this fellow would not dare to clash head-on with him. He was afraid of being delayed and unable to leave. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chun made his move at lightning speed. He swept all the burial items in the platinum-glazed coffin into his universe ring. Without even looking at the items in the universe ring, Xiao Chun flew close to the ground and silently left the small herb garden amid a cloud of dust. Bang! The 6 peak martial kings attacked with all their might, shattering the coffin lid that was approaching ferociously. However, the force of the coffin lid was simply too strong. When it shattered, it created an intense shock wave. The shock wave surged and the 6 all took a step back. When the shock wave dissipated, they quickly rushed towards the coffin. Damn! There is nothing left. Not to mention the sage treasure. There is not even a single burial item left. The 6 peak martial kings looked at the empty coffin. Their hearts trembled, and their expressions changed wildly. He has not gone far. He is still in the sky. The bloody bladesman looked at the sky and tossed the dragon-tooth saber in the direction that the scarred man had gone. The black dragon-tooth saber turned into a beam of light and instantly disappeared. In the next instant, a tyrannical black dragon appeared behind the scarred man and smashed him down. The scarred man landed on the ground, and the 6 instantly surrounded him without saying anything. Sharp attacks covered the sky and covered the earth as they unfolded, not giving him a chance to speak at all. By then, Xiao Chun had already appeared beside Yu Chenxi. He had a calm expression on his face and a faint smile on his face as he watched the 7 of them fight furiously. Yu Chenxi, who had witnessed everything, had a look of disbelief in his eyes. How did this guy do it? He effortlessly collected all of the funerary items. The martial technique of the scarred man in black robes was very strange. When he made his move, there was a black gas drifting around his palm, accompanied by an extremely strong corrosive gas. Xiao Chun felt that this person's aura seemed a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it before. In terms of individual strength, aside from the bloody bladesman, Sun Guangquan, the other peak martial kings would not be a match for him. However, the scarred man could not handle so many people. Furthermore, his opponents were not weak. Furthermore, the black-robed man was carrying the corpse of the half-step Emperor Wu. Slowly, the scarred man started to show signs of weakness. When a cultivator reached martial sage, they could steal a trace of the heavenly Tao. The Savannah King was only a step away from Emperor Wu. He would definitely be able to steal more of the heavenly Tao. The energy of the heavenly Tao had not dissipated even after 1,000 years. Such a corpse could not be placed in a spatial ring. If it was forcefully placed, the heavenly Tao's energy would instantly destroy the weak spatial energy. Hence, the black-robed cultivator could only endure it, becoming even more passive. Given his strength, Xiao Chun estimated that if he put down the Savannah King's corpse, he would have no problems escaping. The sudden change in the small herb garden stunned the cultivators, who left for a long time before they recovered their wits. Their eyes began to flicker, and they all stopped outside the small herb garden, unwilling to leave. They all hoped to see both sides suffer. That way, they would be able to take advantage of the situation. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He could not be bothered to continue watching. However, no matter what the result was, it had nothing to do with him. There was no need for him to linger here. Who knew, he might end up attracting trouble. Xiao Chun turned around and returned to the large herb garden. Then, he started picking some high-rank spirit herbs again. When Wuxia saw the situation, he quickly followed. This is the dog ant grass that can cure hundreds of poisons. It is especially useful for snake venom. Pick it. White wisdom grass. This is the main ingredient for refining the clear wind jade dew pill for treating injuries. It is also 200 years old. Pick it. A 500-year-old snow ginseng. Although it is only 500 years old, it is not bad. I missed it earlier. It can increase my cultivation by 7 or 8 years. Pick it. Xiao Chun could already conclude this trip perfectly. Now, he could not even be bothered to release his spiritual sense. He strolled around the large herb garden and picked the good herbs he saw. In just a moment, there were several dozen more herbs in his universe ring. Another large harvest. As for the cultivators who were waiting outside the small herb garden, hoping that both sides would be injured, they could not obtain anything. They could only wait helplessly. They were still waiting for the big fish. After both sides were injured, they would be able to get a share of the burial items in the sage coffin. However, they did not know that Xiao Chun had already obtained the burial items. Wuxia, who knew everything, looked at the cultivators waiting anxiously outside the small herb garden with anticipation in their eyes. He felt that these people were too foolish. Wuxia, who had been following behind Xiao Chun, looked at the incredibly calm Xiao Chun. Finally, he could not help but ask, "White-robed bladesman Xiao Chun, I really do not understand. Even at this moment, how can you still be so calm? If the 6 peak martial kings knew that you were the one who took the burial items, you would not even have time to run. Yet, you are still in the mood to continue picking spirit herbs." Xiao Chun stood up and carefully placed the spirit herbs he just picked into his universe ring. He smiled gently and said, "I am not like you, with the support of the Supreme Sky Sect. You probably have a lot of natural treasures, spirit pills, and miraculous medicines. This is a rare opportunity. Naturally, I have to pick more. Who knows, this vast herb garden might be gone in a while. I have to make good use of my time." When Wuxia heard this, he was slightly stunned. The Supreme Sky Sect had its own herb garden. It was even larger than the herb garden here. Furthermore, it had professionals looking after it for close to 10,000 years. There was also a complete alchemy hall, and the peak alchemists of the continent. Hence, Xiao Chun did not lack spirit pills. This was also why she was not interested in this herb garden. However, when she heard Xiao Chun say that this herb garden would disappear, she found it funny. She said softly, "Haha, you are too good at joking. How could this herb garden suddenly disappear? That is impossible." Chi. Just as she finished speaking, all the herbs in the large herb garden began to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye. Before Xiao Chun could pull out a 300-year-old green light grass, it withered in Xiao Chun's hand. It lost all its medicinal energy and no longer had any life force. The huge herb garden, which was filled with medicinal herbs, withered rapidly in front of the two of them. It was like time flowed quickly from spring to autumn, from autumn to winter. Everything in the world withered in an instant. Wuxia's expression changed greatly. His face was filled with disbelief. He said somewhat nervously, "You knew this would happen?" Xiao Chun's face was filled with shock as well. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I really did not know. I was just casually saying it earlier. Let's go to the small herb garden and take a look. All the medicinal energy is flowing there." The two circulated their movement techniques and arrived at the periphery of the small herb garden after a while. They saw that the cultivators who were waiting at the side had all joined the battle. Strange, these people are all very crafty. Why would they take the risk of joining the battle before the outcome of the battle was determined? Xiao Chun looked at the herb garden and his expression suddenly changed. The camellias that were originally blooming in the small herb garden had all withered, their life force drained away. Previously, the black-robed scarred man would only release a black chi when he attacked. Now his entire body was covered in a black chi. The black chi sizzled in the air. It seemed like the air was corroded. It was very strange, deterring people from getting too close. Everyone's attacks seemed to be somewhat fearful. Xiao Qin's heart skipped a beat. He finally understood why he found this black-robed man familiar. This fellow had a demonic beast martial spirit in his body. That black chi was the demonic chi from the demonic world. It was exactly the same as the one he saw Yu chasing after in the demonic beast forest. In the small herb garden, 6 black coffins had appeared behind the scarred man at some point in time. The coffins were already lying on the ground. 6 corpses with their eyes closed stood quietly in the coffins. There were 3 red marks on their foreheads. The 6 corpses wore heavy armor made of profound iron. Their exposed skin glowed black like steel. As the life force of countless spirit herbs poured into the coffins, the 6 corpses suddenly opened their eyes. They slowly walked out with heavy steps. Boom! 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 Unexpectedly, the 6 corpses came to life just like that. The profound iron armor on their bodies weighed an unknown amount of kilograms. With every step they took, the ground trembled. Yu Chenxi had a grave expression as he said, "These are rank 3 black-blooded demonic corpses. It is a method unique to the Dark Church to refine corpses. This person is actually a remnant of the Dark Church. No wonder he wants the sage body of the Savannah King. He actually wants to refine the sage body into a demonic corpse. This is too horrifying. We cannot let him leave." Xiao Chun had heard of the Dark Church before. It was the mortal enemy of humanity. It was created by evil cultivators who willingly prostrated themselves at the feet of the demonic god. From the very beginning, it existed to help the demonic world unify the entire continent. However, many years ago, the 3 holy masters worked together with all the sects in the world and chased them out of the continent. Most of the core members of the Dark Church were killed as well. Even their church master was killed by the 3 holy lords working together. The Dark Church could be said to have completely collapsed. Only some weak remnant forces remained. When the cultivators of the continent saw the remnants of the Dark Church, they had to work together to kill them, no matter who they were. This was an ancient rule passed down from generation to generation. Basically, no one disobeyed it. The moment the 6 black-blooded demonic corpses appeared, they immediately charged into the crowd. Their huge bodies carried a huge force. They were like tanks driving into the crowd. Dang! 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 When the attacks of the crowd struck the black-blooded demonic corpses, they gave off dull metallic clangs. These black-blooded demonic corpses did not have any weaknesses. Be it their heads or eyes, they were not weak. They did not have emotions or feel pain. The black-blooded demonic corpses did not care about the attacks coming at them. With a backhand strike, they pierced through their opponents' bodies. Chapter 386. When the black-blooded demonic corpses stopped the crowd, the scarred man smiled coldly. He carried the Savannah King's corpse and quickly left this place. A few peak martial kings wanted to give chase. However, the black-blooded demonic corpses held them back. They had no chance to leave. Boom! Suddenly, a multicolored light appeared in the sky above. Yu Chenxi leaped into the air and continuously executed the morning sun fist. A dazzling light exploded on her delicate fist. It was like the sun was breaking as she charged at the scarred man. Bang! The scarred man did not dodge. He took this punch head-on. His body flew forward and he vomited a large mouthful of blood. Bang! 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 Another few powerful fist winds descended from the sky. They broke through the void and struck the scarred man's body with lightning speed. All of them landed on the scarred man's body. The scarred man vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. However, he used the force of the blows to move a large distance forward. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Yu Chenxi's sight. For the sake of the Savannah King's holy body, this person was willing to risk everything. Unexpectedly, he used such a decisive method to escape. Xiao Chun was very clear on the might of the morning sun fist. This person would not be able to recover without at least half a year of recuperation. How hateful. I actually let him escape. Yu Chenxi landed firmly beside Xiao Chun. Her beautiful face revealed an expression of extreme pity. Suddenly the ground trembled. The 6 black-blooded demonic corpses found an opportunity to return to the black coffins. Bang! The 6 coffin lids bounced up and the entire coffin merged back together. Then it quickly sank into the ground and disappeared from everyone's sight. After a long time, the small herb garden was still silent. Everyone's mood was extremely gloomy. When everyone looked at the withered herb garden, they all had extremely dispirited expressions. Earlier there were treasures everywhere. Now everything was empty. Not only did they not obtain the sage treasures and the Savannah King's burial items, but even the natural treasures of the herb garden, which they thought they did not have to worry about, were gone. In the end, he didn't get any benefits from either side. It was all for naught. After a long time, the bloody bladesman Sun Guangquan sighed somewhat gloomily. He smiled bitterly and said, "Everyone, there is no need to be too depressed. There is still a long way to go. After you leave, I hope that you will spread the news of the Dark Church's remnants so that the various sects will be on guard. I will take my leave first." After Bloody Bladesman spoke, he turned into a red beam of light and quickly left the herb garden. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the crowd. The other peak experts looked at the withered herb garden with extremely ugly expressions. Not long after, they also dispersed. Luckily, my luck is pretty good. I didn't go around looking for those spiritual herbs that are over 500 years old. I managed to pick a few stalks of spiritual herbs that are over 100 years old. I'm depressed. I've been looking for herbs that are more than 500 years old. I didn't pay attention to herbs that are more than 100 years old. I haven't found anything yet. That's normal. Century-old spirit herbs are everywhere here, so they aren't that valuable. Naturally, they would want to find spirit herbs that are older than 500 years. Who would have thought that the Dark Church's people would suddenly appear? I can only learn from my mistakes. Unexpectedly, the Dark Church still has such strong people. This time they managed to snatch the sage treasure and the Savannah King's corpse. I believe that their faction has already risen from the ashes. This is not something for us to worry about. It is the worry of a large sect. Since there are still a few days left, let's go to the other side palaces and try our luck. Let's go. The many cultivators in the herb garden did not find anything. They all shook their heads and sighed. Then they walked out dispiritedly. A public land of fortuitous encounters like the Savannah Kings was not that easy to find. If they wanted to run into more fortuitous encounters in the future, it would not be that easy. The crowd could not help but sigh. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He had gained a lot on this trip, but he did not show it. He did not show any joy or sorrow. Others would not be able to see anything wrong with him. It is time to leave, Xiao Chen thought to himself. He said goodbye to Yu Chenxi and headed out of the herb garden. After leaving the herb garden, Xiao Chun returned to the 15th floor of the main palace. He did not linger as he quickly headed out of the main palace. As the huge waves weakened, the number of cultivators that arrived gradually increased. He could still see many cultivators in the treasure rooms on the 13th floor. 10 minutes later, Xiao Chun walked out of the main palace. When he looked back, the entire palace was still in ruins. Beside the main palace, there were some extremely dilapidated side palaces. There should be some good things in there. However, Xiao Chun was not interested. He had obtained a large number of spirit herbs that could increase his cultivation in the herb garden. They could save him 4 or 5 months. He wanted to make use of this opportunity to break through to peak superior grade martial saint. Then, he would forcefully open the few minor meridians required for the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 6th layer. Finally, he would break through to Martial King. Suddenly, he felt a familiar aura. The spirit blood jade flashed twice. It should be Bai and the others. Xiao Chun looked around and immediately executed the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Soon he saw Kim Taeho, Su Xiaoxiao and Bai. Elder brother Xiao Chun, why didn't you come back after you left? Bai thought you didn't want me anymore. When Bai saw Xiao Chen's familiar figure, he immediately rushed over and hugged Xiao Chun. His eyes were filled with tears. Xiao Chun felt warmth in his heart. He smiled faintly and released Bai. Then he rubbed his head and said, "Something happened, so I came early. Don't worry." When Kim Tae-ho saw the group of people coming out of the main hall, his expression seemed off. His sharp senses sensed that something was wrong. He looked at Xiao Chan and said, "What happened in the main hall? Something feels off." Xiao Chan replied, "The Dark Church's people appeared. A large herb garden filled with natural treasures was destroyed. The burial goods and corpses of the sage were all snatched away." When Su Xiaoxiao and Kim Tae-ho heard this, their expressions changed. Clearly, they had not expected the Dark Church's people to appear. After a while, Kim Tae-ho recovered his calm. He laughed and said, looking at Brother Zhao's expression, "It does not look like you did not gain anything. You must have gained a lot, right?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "It's all right. I will talk to you in detail after we go out. The good things in the main hall are basically gone. Do you want to go?" Kim Tae-ho smiled gently and said, "Naturally we have to go. Even though the main hall is gone, there should still be some things in the side halls. We can't return empty-handed." "In that case, I will wait for you at the Green Wind Island," Xiao Chun said softly. "See you at the Green Wind Island. I will take my leave first." After the group left, Xiao Chun led Bai to the shore. In a few days, the huge waves would return to their previous intensity. If they did not leave at that time, they would be trapped in there until they died. White-robed bladesman Xiao Chan weighed up. The two arrived at the shore. Just as they were about to depart, a melodious voice came from behind them. When Xiao Chan heard this form of address, he did not need to turn his head to know who it was. Indeed, it was the fairy-like Yu Chenxi. Seeing Yu Chenxi fly over quickly, Xiao Chan carefully sized her up. He smiled gently and said, "I say, Miss Yu Chenxi, you don't have to address me like that every time. You can just call me Xiao Chan." Yu Chenxi smiled faintly. Her smile was like a blooming epiphyllum, beautiful and alluring. Xiao Chan had seen too many smiles that could mesmerize most men. He had completely lost his immunity to it. "I feel that addressing you this way can close the distance between us. I feel that you are purposely avoiding me. Am I that scary?" Yu Chenxi explained with a smile. How could someone who could injure the scarred man and make him vomit blood with just a few punches not be scary? Xiao Chun felt speechless in his heart. Furthermore, the other party had a sensitive identity. Xiao Chun really did not want to have too much to do with this woman. He did not want the situation that Kim Tae-ho mentioned to happen. Once he entered the Great Jin Nation, countless cats and dogs would come to challenge him. Xiao Chun collected his thoughts and said in a deep voice, "Long story short, why are you looking for me? You want me to give you a few funerary items. Anyone who sees it will get a share. Your request is not too much." Yu Chenxi pouted and said, "Who cares about the things of the dead? I want you to help me get the daybreak flower." Xiao Chen asked, "Is there anything in it for me?" Yu Chenxi replied, "No." "Bye, let's go." Xiao Chun led Bai forward without looking back. Yu Chenxi was speechless and a little dazed. Bai asked doubtfully, "Big brother Xiao Chan, why don't you help that sister? She is so pretty, she shouldn't be a bad person." Xiao Chan lectured seriously, "You can't judge a person by their appearance. She looks pretty but she doesn't have a brain. Helping her won't end well for you. In the future when you see a handsome guy, don't be muddle-headed. Otherwise you will be taken advantage of." Bai nodded, not really understanding. Yes, Bai understands. That sister wants to take advantage of big brother Xiao Chan. Bai will not let anyone else take advantage of her. Only big brother Xiao Chan will take advantage of her. Xiao Chan almost laughed when he heard that. He wanted to explain but he decided against it. The more he explained, the more confused he would be. Behind him, Yu Chenxi watched as Xiao Chan left nonchalantly when he heard that there were no benefits. His fairy-like face was stunned for a long time. Now that he heard the conversation between Xiao Chan and Bai, he went berserk. This fellow is too shameless. How did I become taking advantage of him? Morning sun fist. In his rage he punched. His delicate fist released a dazzling light. An extremely tyrannical fist wind flew at Xiao Chan. Break! Xiao Chan turned around and drew his saber at lightning speed. He executed drawing the saber and his speed instantly reached Mach 3. He chopped the fist wind in half. After the tyrannical fist wind was chopped in half, it did not immediately dissipate. Instead, it brushed past Xiao Chen's shoulders and flew far away before stopping. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and looked at the raging Yu Chenzi. His expression was extremely calm. He smiled gently and said, "Miss Chenzi, why are you so angry?" Yu Chenzi frowned tightly. She quickly walked over to Xiao Chen and said angrily, "Speak clearly. How did this miss take advantage of you?" Xiao Chen said calmly, "You did not give me any benefits, so you helped me. If this is not taking advantage of me, what is?" "That is true, but... Chapter 387. Yu Chenzi's face froze. He was stumped by Xiao Chen's words. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to make sense. However, he still felt that something was wrong. This person was too despicable. In the past, when he needed help, there would be countless people rushing to help him without him even asking. He even looked down on them. However, this Xiao Chen took the initiative to ask for help. He owed him a favor. How could he say that he was taking advantage of me? Thinking of this word, Yu Chenzi finally understood what was wrong. He quickly said, "You can say that I owe you a favor. How can you say that I am taking advantage of you?" Looking at Yu Chenzi's angry expression, Bai said timidly, "Sister Yu, that was what Bai said, not Brother Xiao Chen. Don't blame Brother Xiao Chen." When Yu Chenzi heard this, she was stumped again. It seemed like Xiao Bai was the one who said it, but she got angry at Xiao Chen. How depressing. When I meet with this fellow, why does it seem like I am being unreasonable? Yu Chenzi thought angrily in her heart. Xiao Chen smiled gently and pulled Bai behind him. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't blame yourself. Actually, that is what I meant. You just said it for me first." Then when Yu Chenzi was about to lose his temper, Xiao Chen continued, "Don't be angry. Just as you said, take it as a favor. Tell me the details. I want to see if your favor is worth the risk." Yu Chenzi said angrily, Why do I feel like I am talking business with you? You are so unscrupulous." When Xiao Chen heard the word business, something stirred in his heart, stirring him up. If all the things in the world could be like business, fair trading and good parting. Xiao Chen also felt that it was not bad. Unfortunately, he had seen too much. The nature of the world was the survival of the fittest. Without strength, there would be no fairness. Forget it. You can say whatever you want. Just tell me what you want me to help you with, Xiao Chen said indifferently. Yu Chenzi thought for a while and organized his words in his mind. Then he told Xiao Chen the whole story. It turned out that after she finished her training in the Boundless Sea, she had planned to return to the Jin Nation. However, she had unexpectedly met Jin Wuji on Greenwind Island. Jin Wuji had met Jin Wuji once in the previous Five-Nation Youth Competition, and exchanged a few words with him. Now that they met again, it was hard not to greet him. Jin Wuji first invited Yu Chenzi to a gathering at the restaurant, but Yu Chenzi was in a hurry to return. Furthermore, in her eyes, the quality of this gathering was not very high. The people who came were not the top geniuses of the various nations. Furthermore, she did not have much of a relationship with Jin Wuji, so there was no need for her to agree to their request. Furthermore, she could guess that Jin Wuji wanted to use her identity to expand his influence. All the more she would not agree. However, Jin Wuji told her that there was news of the daybreak grass on Chinran Island. As long as she was willing to attend the gathering, he would tell her the exact location of the daybreak grass. The martial technique that Yu Chenzi practiced, the morning sun fist, had to be supplemented with the corresponding cultivation technique, the morning sun incantation. However, it was extremely difficult to improve the morning sun incantation. If one had the support of the daybreak flower, they could greatly increase the speed of their cultivation. Furthermore, the effects of the daybreak flower were not temporary, they were permanent. Xiao Chen looked around and asked suspiciously, "The daybreak flower should have a demonic beast or spirit beast guarding it. You are here to ask for my help. However, Jin Wuji should be very willing to help you. Why do I not see him?" Yu Chenzi said. He was injured by the black-blooded demonic corpses and left in a hurry. He could not even take care of himself. Xiao Chen thought about it carefully and discovered that it was not a particularly difficult problem. He raised his head and said, It is not a big problem, I will help you. However, I will forget about the favor. Just treat it as me returning the favor of keeping the secret for me in the herb garden. Yuchensi smiled gently. He finally heard this fellow say something decent. He was no longer so infuriating. In that case, let's go. Follow me. Under Yuchensi's lead, the three of them quickly headed to the north of Qianren Island. Qianren Island was very large. It was not much smaller than Green Wind Island. However, it was much more desolate. Aside from the majestic, dilapidated palace, there were no other buildings on the island. There were rocks everywhere and no grass grew. Yuchensi, who was leading the way, suddenly stopped. He gestured for the two to hide behind a huge rock. He poked his head out and pointed to an empty space 1,000 meters ahead. There was nothing there except for a 10-meter-tall black wolf crouching there. The daybreak flower is beside that wolf. Be careful. That wolf's senses are very strong, Yuchensi said softly. Xiaochun took a closer look. There was nothing there at all. He thought that Yuchensi had said the wrong place. He used his spiritual sense to scan the wolf's surroundings. However, he still did not discover anything. Xiaochun could not help but look suspiciously at Yuchensi. The daybreak flower? Why don't I see it? Yuchensi suddenly said, I forgot to tell you. The daybreak flower can only be seen when the sun rises. Furthermore, it only lasts for a short period of time, no more than 5 minutes. When Xiaochun heard this, he looked at the sky above him. It was only noon. There were still more than 20 hours until the next day's dawn. Where did that wolf come from? It seems to only have the strength of a rank 7 demonic beast. With your strength you should not need any help, Xiaochun said in a deep voice. The wolf crouched on the ground. It was more than 10 meters tall and extremely burly. Its eyes were pitch black, and it did not seem to have anything special about it. However, Xiaochun keenly felt that something was wrong. This wolf might not be as ordinary as it looked. Otherwise, Yuchensi would not have called him for help for no reason. Yuchensi explained, that is a greedy dream wolf. It is not a demonic beast. It is a rank 7 spirit beast. Its strength is average, but it is good at creating illusions. It is extremely rare. The daybreak flower's fragrance can help it speed up its cultivation. Wherever it is, there will definitely be a daybreak flower. Later, I will make a move first to attract its attention. You go and pick the flower. As long as the two of us do not fall into the illusion at the same time, it will be easy to deal with. Xiaochun nodded and did not say anything else. He took out a medial-grade spirit stone from the universe ring and sat cross-legged on the ground. Hey, what are you doing? Yuchensi looked at Xiaochun, who was preparing to cultivate. He said in astonishment, at this time when the huge waves are weaker, it is the time when there are the most people on the island. If we startle the greedy dream wolf, it might eat the daybreak flower. Xiaochun shook his head and said, there is no need to go through so much trouble with the two of us. You alone should be enough. If there are any unexpected situations, just wake me up. There were still more than 20 hours to wait. This was a long time. Xiaochun did not want to waste this time. Furthermore, staring in one direction for a long time made him tired. Xiaochun slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. An endless stream of spiritual energy came from the medial grade spirit stone and headed for the Qi whirlpool in his dantian. Xiaochun had just broken through to superior grade martial saint not long ago. He still needed some time to stabilize his cultivation before he could use the spirit herb to break through to peak superior grade martial saint. After all, spirit herbs were external items. Without a good foundation, they would be like a loose dam. The vast medicinal energy was like a gushing flood. Without a good dam, it would immediately collapse. Not only would it not raise his cultivation, but it would also cause great harm to his cultivation. Xiaochun had to be careful. Xiaochun did not have the ability to fail. Thus, he could not waste too much of the 20-odd hours he had left. The pure essence in the spirit stone was quickly drained. As the purple thunder divine incantation circulated in a great cycle, it slowly flowed into his dantian. The purple cyclone expanded bit by bit, becoming more solid and tenacious bit by bit. Time slowly went by. By the time Xiaochun opened his eyes again, the sky was already dark. It was already evening. When Bai saw that Xiao Chun had woken up, she said pitifully, "Elder brother Xiao Chun, Bai is hungry." Xiao Chun smiled gently and put away the medial grade spirit stone that still had half of its energy left. He said, "Let's eat, I am a little hungry as well." When Bai heard this, she immediately smiled happily. She received the food that Xiao Chun handed over and started eating happily. Aside from preserving the quality of the food, the universe ring could also preserve freshness. Thus, Xiao Chun's food was very tasty. It almost retained its original taste. The aroma assailed their noses. The two of them ate to their satisfaction. Xiao Chun took out a wine cup and filled it with wine, preparing to take another sip. Bai quickly removed the bottle gourd at her waist. Her intelligent eyes squinted into a pair of crescent moons. She looked very cute. "Elder brother Xiao Chun, come cheers." Xiao Chun smiled faintly and clinked his bottle gourd with Bai's. Then, he drained the wine in his cup in one gulp. Yu Chenxi turned his head and looked at the two eating happily. His intelligent eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. He said somewhat speechlessly, "White-robed hero, what are you doing now?" Xiao Chun gently put down the wine cup and muttered, "Eating?" Yu Chenxi said somewhat angrily, "This daybreak flower is very important to me. If I miss this opportunity, who knows how long I will have to wait to find it again. If we startle the greedy dream wolf, all our efforts will be for naught. I beg you, white-robed hero, can you be more serious? As a cultivator, it is no big deal to skip a meal. Just bear with it and it will be over." Gurgle. Gurgle. Just as Yu Chenxi finished speaking, a strange sound came from her stomach. It was drawn out. Suddenly Yu Chenxi blushed. Only now did she remember that she had rushed back from the boundless sea, and then rushed to Qianren Island. It had been a long time since she had eaten. Bai quickly took out some food and handed it to Yu Chenxi. She said, "Elder sister Yu, your stomach is growling from hunger. Eat something. If you do not eat, you will feel uncomfortable." In the past, Bai often forgot to eat as well. Yu Chenxi blushed. She could only blame her stomach for not doing her best. Of all times, it had to growl at this moment. Earlier, she had said that as a cultivator, skipping a meal was nothing. She had used this reason to teach Xiao Chun a lesson. In the end, retribution came. "He is going to make me laugh to death," Yu Chenxi thought awkwardly. Eat something. For a peak medial grade martial king's stomach to growl, you must have not eaten for at least half a month. Since the daybreak flower is so important to you, all the more you need to eat. I will help you take a look. Chapter 388. Xiao Chun walked over and patted Yu Chenxi's shoulder calmly. Then, he took over her position and stared at the black greedy dream wolf in front. Yu Chenxi felt warmth in her heart. She was very touched. She had not expected the cold and somewhat emotionless Xiao Chun to be so considerate. Just as she was about to thank him, she discovered that Xiao Chun's lips twitched a few times. It was clear that he wanted to laugh but was trying to hold it in. Yu Chenxi clenched her fist and smacked Xiao Chun hard. She said angrily, If you want to laugh, just laugh. Why do you have to hold it in and pretend to be a good person?" Bang! Bang! Fists rained down. However, Xiao Chun could no longer hold it in. He laughed and allowed Yu Chenxi's fists to land on him. Although they were competing in strength, the other party did not use any essence. Xiao Chun could throw the dragon tendon tiger bone at her. Xiao Chun also did not circulate the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Otherwise, Yu Chenxi would beat herself up. Xiao Chun stretched out his hands and grabbed Yu Chenxi's disorderly fists. He smiled gently and said, "Heroine, eat something. As a cultivator, their stomachs will growl too." Yu Chenxi rolled her eyes at Xiao Chun. She was no longer in the mood to continue pestering him. She obediently received the food that Bai handed over and started eating. At first, she was enjoying the food elegantly. However, in the end it seemed like she was really starving. Furthermore, she was feeling depressed, so she did not care about anything else and started eating in big mouthfuls. In the end, she accidentally choked and started coughing. When Bai saw the situation, she quickly handed over her wine gourd. Yu Chenxi received it and started drinking. She only stopped after taking a big gulp. Xiao Chun happened to turn around and saw this scene. His expression could not help but change. "It's over." Bai mistook the white wine for water and handed it to this girl. Putting down the wine gourd, Yu Chenxi's pretty face flushed red. She could not help but exhale. Bai, what did you hand me? A good white wine. In the past, when Bai choked on it, she would be fine after drinking a few mouthfuls, Bai said seriously with a smile. Wine. Yu Chenxi was startled. She said dizzily, I can't drink. Right after she spoke, she collapsed. Xiao Bai quickly pulled her into her embrace and asked anxiously, Elder brother Xiao Chan, what happened to elder sister Yu? Xiao Chan stretched out his index finger and placed it under Yu Chenxi's nose for a while. He smiled gently and said, she is fine, she is just drunk. How did she get drunk? Bai asked suspiciously, that's strange. Elder sister Yu did not drink much. How did she get drunk? There was nothing strange about that. Some people could hold their liquor well, and would not get drunk even after 1,000 cups. Some people could not hold their liquor well, and would get drunk after just one sip. It was clear that Yu Chenxi belonged to the latter group. It was good for her to sleep for a while. This girl was too tense because of the daybreak flower. Xiaochen said, take care of her. I will continue to keep an eye on the greedy dream wolf. The night slowly darkened. Unknowingly, it was already midnight. Xiaochan had been keeping an eye on the greedy dream wolf for some time. Aside from the fact that the greedy dream wolf would occasionally close its eyes and sniff the air, there were no other surprises. Xiaochan turned his head and looked at Yu Chenxi in Bai's arms. She was already in a deep sleep. Her eyes were closed and she was breathing rhythmically. She looked calm and serene. At this moment, it was hard to imagine that this beautiful girl in her sleep was the proud daughter of heaven that was pursued by tens of thousands of people in the great Jin nation. She was no different from an ordinary girl. This girl's martial prowess was 100 points, and her charm was also 100 points. However, her intelligence seemed to be slightly lacking. Her experience was also ridiculously lacking. It would be difficult for her to inherit the supreme sky sect like this, Xiaochan thought to himself as he shook his head. After another 4 hours, Xiaochan looked at the brightening sky and stretched out his hand to push Yu Chenxi, who was in Bai's arms. The moment Xiaochen's finger touched the other party, Yu Chenxi immediately startled awake. A bright light flashed in her deep eyes. She revealed a murderous intent and was very alert. When Yu Chenxi saw that it was Xiaochan, she relaxed her guard. She rubbed her temples and asked somewhat anxiously, did I oversleep? Xiaochan said indifferently, no. Hurry up and get ready. The sun will rise in 10 minutes. Yu Chenxi was mildly startled. He quickly got up and circulated his energy to force out the alcohol in his body. After that, he went behind the huge rock and waited patiently. Time ticked by. The eastern horizon slowly started to brighten. Yu Chenxi slowly became anxious. He clenched his right hand tightly. Xiaochan did not feel anything. He remained very calm. In terms of mental state, Yu Chenxi was still slightly inferior to Xiaochan. Hu Qi. Suddenly, a dazzling light appeared in the eastern sky. The golden light was very eye-catching, breaking through the last trace of darkness before dawn. When it landed beside the greedy dream wolf, it suddenly reflected a resplendent flower. That flower seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. If it did not appear, no one would be able to find it. However, when it appeared, it attracted everyone's attention. It was extremely beautiful, making people unable to look away. The daybreak flower. It really is the daybreak flower. Yu Chenxi's fairy-like face smiled happily. It seemed even more beautiful than the dazzling and beautiful daybreak flower. Yu Chenxi said softly, the daybreak flower only appears for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes it will be impossible to find no matter what we do. I will attract the greedy dream wolf's attention. You go pick the flower. After you pick the flower, attack the greedy dream wolf and save me from the illusion of the greedy dream wolf. Otherwise, if I stay in it for too long, I might not be able to get out. When Xiaochen heard this, he smiled gently and said, you really trust me. If I take the daybreak flower and leave, you will not get anything and even lose your life. Yu Chenxi looked at the resplendent daybreak flower and said indifferently, the daybreak flower is useless to you. You are a smart person. You will not offend the strong supreme sky sect for something useless. That was indeed the case. It seemed that Yu Chenxi was not stupid. After looking at the greedy dream wolf, Xiaochan said, one last question. How many people can the greedy dream wolf pull into the illusion? 1. Yuchensi said with absolute certainty. Bai, who had already woken up, said softly, Elder sister Bai wants to help too. Xiaochan quickly rejected, telling them to just stay where they were. However, Yuchensi thought for a while and said, it seems like we do need one more person. If there is any sudden situation, Xiaochan, you will deal with it. Then let Bai pick the flower. Bai said happily, elder brother Xiaochan, let Bai participate. Bai can run very fast. There will not be any danger. The arrangement was very simple. There should not be any danger. Furthermore, it was just picking the flower. In the end, Xiaochan agreed to let Bai participate. Alright, let's go. Right after Yuchensi spoke, she immediately leaped into the air. When the morning sun shone on her exquisite figure, she looked even more beautiful. Morning sun fist. A light exploded on the tip of his fist. The extremely dense fist wind broke through the obstruction of space. It was like an intense cannonball, instantly striking the huge body of the greedy dream wolf. Bang! A bloody hole immediately appeared on the greedy dream wolf's body. Blood poured out like a fountain. Boom! 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 Yuchensi's movements did not stop. The tyrannical morning sun fist was like a machine gun, bombarding the greedy dream wolf relentlessly. Deep pits appeared on the ground. The greedy dream wolf had already reacted. It quickly ran on the ground, dodging the fist wind. Yuchensi chased closely. The greedy dream wolf turned around and spat out black energy balls to counterattack. One man and one wolf fought intensely on the ground. A peak rank 7 spirit beast's combat prowess was equal to a superior grade martial king. Yuchensi did not dare to be careless with its counterattack. Let's go. Seeing that the greedy dream wolf was lured away, Xiaochan immediately led Bai towards the blooming daybreak flower. Just as the two of them were about to reach breaking dawn, the explosions that rang in their ears from time to time suddenly stopped. It was like time had stopped flowing. The intense battle had ended just like that. Xiaochan turned his head and saw Yuchensi standing on the ground in a daze. A strange black light flickered in the pitch-black eyes of the greedy dream wolf opposite him. Yuchensi should be trapped in an illusion. He would not be in any danger for now. However, it would be hard to say for sure as time passed. Xiaochan quickly turned his head and rushed towards the daybreak flower. He wanted to pick the daybreak flower and save Yuchensi from the illusion. Wang! Wang! Just at this moment, just as Xiaochan's hand was about to touch the daybreak flower, the surrounding world suddenly started spinning, giving off a hazy feeling. Xiaochan felt a pair of eyes staring at him from behind. It was strangely enticing, forcing him to turn his head and look. Just as Xiaochan was fighting against this force, Bai turned around in a daze. Xiaochan was startled. He quickly said, Bai, close your eyes. As he spoke, a ripple appeared in his mind. He could not help but turn around to look as well. Xiao! Xiaochan saw that the greedy dream wolf's pitch-black eyes had turned silver. It was extremely attractive, making one unable to bear to close their eyes when they looked at it. Oh no, this is the king of the greedy dream wolves. Yuchensi's information must have been wrong. He can definitely drag many people into an illusion at the same time. The situation in front of Xiaochan suddenly changed. Everything around him was pitch black. The clown felt an evil force trying to peer into the depths of his soul. He quickly used his spiritual sense and turned it into sharp blades, cutting off this evil force. Roar! Roar! A miserable shriek resounded in Xiaochan's ears. The surrounding pitch-black scene suddenly changed. Xiaochan opened his eyes and discovered that he was standing in the middle of a vast prairie. Countless scarlet eyes stared at him from all directions. Packs of demonic wolves paced the edges of the savanna like they were food on a plate, occasionally howling. Hu-chi! Hu-chi! In the next instant, the demonic wolves from all directions charged at Xiaochan like a flood. Their howls rang out in the desolate savanna, shocking everyone. Xiaochan drew the lunar shadow saber and chopped. He chopped all the surrounding demonic wolves in half. Blood splattered everywhere, covering the sky. Chapter 389. Scarlet clouds filled the sky. Xiaochan brought out the state of massacre to its limits, killing all the demonic wolves that pounced at him like a flood. His white robes were soon dyed red with blood. However, there were simply too many demonic wolves. It seemed like there was no end to them. No matter what he did, he could not kill them all. Time slowly went by. Xiao Chun slowly became bloodthirsty from all the killing. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he switched from holding his saber with one hand to holding it with both hands. Xiao Chun fought desperately in the pack of demonic wolves, moving in and out. Every time he swung his saber, it would leave a large pool of blood. He killed countless demonic wolves. As Xiao Chun slaughtered the demonic wolves, the scarlet throne in his sea of consciousness trembled in excitement. This made Xiao Chun feel carefree. Xiao Chun's entire body was filled with energy. He felt an inexplicable excitement from killing. The stimulated saber light became even more ferocious, and Xiao Chun killed with even more vigor. Wang! Just as Xiao Chun was about to sink into the state of massacre, the lunar shadow saber suddenly lit up with a beam of light and shot at Xiao Chun's forehead. Xiao Chun's agitated heart immediately calmed down. It was like he had jumped into an icy river on a hot summer's day. His mind was now completely awake. Xiao Chun's eyes regained their clarity. He leaped up and dodged the attacks of the many demonic wolves. Fear appeared on his face as he said, "How dangerous! This illusion nearly made me sink into the state of massacre." Looking at the smooth mirror-like lunar shadow saber, Xiao Chun thought to himself, "It looks like Ao Jiao pulled me back at the crucial moment." Although this greedy dream wolf did not invade Xiao Chun's heart, it sensed the state of massacre that Xiao Chun cultivated. So, it set up an illusion that targeted the state of massacre to lure Xiao Chun into it. It looked like the greedy dream wolf's illusion was not as simple as creating an illusion that made it hard to distinguish between real and fake. Instead, it penetrated deep into the human heart, trying to make one sink into it. However, since Xiao Chun knew the principle behind it, it was easier to deal with. This is an illusion created based on the state of massacre. In that case, I will use the state of thunder to break it. Boom! The scarlet clouds in the sky scattered, and boundless thunderclouds rolled over. Occasionally, there would be the sound of thunder. Xiao Chun descended from the sky and started his massacre once again. However, this time, Xiao Chun did not use the state of massacre at all. He only used the purest state of thunder. Xiao Chun executed the Wuxia saber to its peak in the desolate plain. The demonic wolves on the ground disappeared at a visible rate. After a while, Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. There were no longer any demonic wolves in the entire savanna. Thunder rumbled in the sky. Cracks started to appear in space. After a while, the entire space shattered. At this moment, with just a thought, Xiao Chun could leave this place. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. Indeed, it is as I expected. As long as I find the corresponding method, I will be able to break this illusion. However, there is no rush to leave. I still have to save Xiao Bai and Yu Chenxi. Of Xiao Chun's spiritual energy. He, Chen's spirit, Xiao spirits. Wow. Xiao Chun did spirit. Xiao. A golden light flashed in the red dot on Xiao Chun's forehead. A golden deity appeared. It was about 1 meter tall and held a sharp saber in its hand. This was the strongest form that Xiao Chun's spiritual sense could take. It could only appear in this illusion. If it were in reality, it would be difficult to bring out its full power. Break! Xiao Chun shouted and controlled the golden deity. It held the sharp saber in its hand and sliced through the air. Instantly, a long spatial crack appeared. Xiao Chun leaped up and brought his spiritual sense through the crack, entering another space. The scene in this space was very simple. It was just a wine cellar. There were piles of good wine on the ground and around it. Bai ran around excitedly. Occasionally, he would go to this bottle and take a sip. When he was tired of it, he would go to another bottle and drink. Xiao Chun did not know whether to laugh or cry. How much did Bai love to drink? Perhaps the greedy dream wolf could not think of any other way to make Bai sink into intoxication. Xiao Chun stood in front of Bai. However, Bai did not notice him at all. With a slight movement, it pierced through Xiao Chun's body. It looks like I am just an outsider in this world, Xiao Chun thought to himself. If I use wine to make Bai sink into intoxication, then I can break this illusion without any wine to drink. Break! The deity swung out a sharp saber and shattered all the wine bottles in the wine cellar. This included the bottle in Bai's hand. Chi! 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 Under Bai's suspicious gaze, the entire space started to shatter quickly. Bai and Xiao Chun arrived in an empty space. When Xiaobai opened her eyes and saw Xiao Chan, the confused Xiaobai immediately said joyfully, "Elder brother Xiao Chan, I had a dream earlier. I dreamed that there was a lot of good wine. I don't know who broke all the wine bottles, but I woke up." Xiao Chan smiled faintly and said, "Dreams will eventually wake up. Just stay here and don't move." Controlling the deity, Xiao Chan tore open the void again and flew towards Yu Chenxi's dream. Boom! The moment Xiao Chan landed, he saw a dazzling light. Countless fist images flashed in the light. The fist winds blew, causing countless people to vomit blood and retreat. When all the light scattered, Yu Chenxi stood proudly in a vast arena. The people lying below the arena were all disciples wearing the uniform of the Supreme Sky Sect. It looked like Yu Chenxi had already made it through. He no longer needed Xiao Chen's help. However, Yu Chenxi's complexion was extremely pale. Clearly, he had had a very unpleasant experience before this. It looked like this greedy dream wolf had penetrated deep into Yu Chenxi's heart. Seeing Xiao Chan land beside him, Yu Chenxi said apologetically, "I'm sorry. This greedy dream wolf is a king-grade spirit beast. I underestimated its strength." Xiao Chan said softly, "It's fine. Let's go out quickly. If we miss the time, we will have to wait another day for the daybreak flower." The two of them worked together to shatter this space. Then they carried by and completely destroyed the greedy dream wolf's illusion. Xiao! The scene before them changed. The morning sun shone, and Qianren Island reappeared before the three. Before Xiao Chan could heave a sigh of relief, a huge shadow pounced at him. It was the greedy dream wolf that was pouncing over quickly. A saber light flashed. Xiao Chan brandished his lunar shadow saber and hacked at the other party's neck at lightning speed. Blood spurted out, but the saber did not manage to chop off the wolf's head. Instead, it left a horrifying wound stuck in the bone of the other party's neck, preventing it from advancing or retreating. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He decisively abandoned his saber and retreated. However, the greedy dream wolf was even faster than Xiao Chan. In the instant that Xiao Chen hesitated, the greedy dream wolf's front claws stabbed into Xiao Chen's chest. The sharp claws pierced through the inner vest on Xiao Chen's chest. Then the 5 claws stabbed towards Xiao Chen's heart. However, just as the claws were about to reach the heart, they met with a layer of obstruction. It was an inferior grade secret treasure's defense against internal organs. Bang! Yu Chenxi did not give the greedy dream wolf a chance to exert any more strength. He quickly flew over and punched the wolf's head. A dazzling golden light exploded from the fist wind, and the wolf's head immediately shattered. Yu Chenxi kicked away the greedy dream wolf's corpse. When he saw the horrifying wound on Xiao Chen's chest, he asked anxiously, "Xiao Chan, are you all right?" Xiao Chan heaved a sigh of relief. He endured the pain and smiled. "I did not injure my heart or lungs. I won't die. Go and pick your daybreak flower. If you don't, time will pass." Yu Chenxi did not say anything. He pressed on a few acupoints on Xiao Chen's chest. After he carefully examined the injuries, he heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Chan left behind a bottle of good quality recuperation medicine and rushed to the daybreak flower. When the daybreak flower's light dimmed, he dug it out, roots included. By helped Xiao Chen up. His eyes were bloodshot as he applied the recuperation medicine on Xiao Chen's wounds. When the cooling medicinal liquid dripped onto the wounds, Xiao Chen's pain immediately lessened. Xiao Chan swallowed a blood-replenishing pill and took out some bandages. With Bai's help, he started bandaging his wounds. In the past, when Xiao Chan was out on experiential training, Bai had helped him bandage his wounds. Thus, he was quite familiar with it and quickly finished bandaging his wounds. The wounds were really horrifying. When Xiao Chen thought about it, he felt some lingering fear. It could be said that he had just taken a trip to the gates of hell. If it were not for the secret treasure protecting his internal organs, the Wolf King's claws would have pierced through his heart. Xiao Chen struggled to get up and rubbed Bai's head. He smiled and said, "Don't look so red. It's fine now. Help me bring the lunar shadow saber over." Bai nodded and said, "All right, I'll go now." Yu Chenxi, who had just finished picking the daybreak flower, walked over. He thanked Xiao Chen sincerely. "Xiao Chen, thank you. If it were not for you, I would not have been able to obtain the daybreak flower." Xiao Chen looked around and said with a grave expression, "There's no need to say thank you. Let's go quickly." I feel that something is wrong with this Qianren Island. When Yuchenzi heard this, he felt it was strange. He asked, "What's wrong? I was only gone for 5 minutes." Xiao Chan smiled bitterly and said, "I was really gone for only 5 minutes? Use your perception and look around." Yuchenzi closed his eyes and extended his perception. After a while, his expression changed slightly. The entire Qianren Island was silent. Furthermore, when Xiao Chan looked around, he could not see a single person on the island that had been bustling with people the previous night. Xiao Chan smiled bitterly and said, "Stop thinking about it. Let's go and see if we can break through the huge waves first." 10 minutes later, the three of them appeared in front of a huge wave. Yuchenzi executed the morning sun fist to its limits. Beams of light filled the air. However, the towering waves did not move at all. Instead, they bounced back with a strong force, nearly injuring Yuchenzi. Yuchenzi landed on the surface of the sea. He asked in astonishment, "What's going on? Before I came, I could break through the huge waves with a casual punch." Xiao Chan muttered to himself for a while before saying, "The strength of the huge waves has already returned to normal. It looks like we have been in the illusion for at least 5 days." In a desolate rock pile on Qianren Island, Yuchenzi had a grave expression as he said, "The greedy dream Wolf King's illusion can indeed change time. I think we have been in the illusion for a long time." Xiao Chen's expression had already calmed down. At this moment he could already accept this fact. He smiled gently and said, "Stop guessing. Looking at the strength of the huge waves, I can already confirm this. It looks like we will have to stay on this Qianren Island for a period of time." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.